heavyweight champion of the world.
Points against Alabama State on Thursday. Ashworth trying to draw a foul. Puckletter is there. Offensive board and a stuff for the big man. Another turnover almost. McAndrew recovers. Set up McAndrew for three. Got another one. Jackson McAndrew. McAndrew's had a hot hand. And he hits another one. Oh, man. Jackson McAndrew. His fourth made three. 12 first-half points. Hummerhouse has it. Up court Boswell. On the wing, Yakichona's a three. Sixth man of the year in the A-10, but with Kentucky, he starts and buries the threes.
Four to shoot. DR, a tight defense. DR, and that's a deep one. It goes! Wow. Got to keep it in front of you. Tied at 31. Clayton gives it up at the hole. Richard rounded out.
Yeah, I mean, they showed their quality. I mean, I thought we played with tremendous honor. I thought we played with the heart of a championship program and a program that's gone back-to-back. And, for a team to end, what we really wanted to do, they were going to have to put us down. And, obviously a worthy opponent like that, there's honor in the way we went out.
Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
What is going on? What is going on?
A lot, actually.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on.
It's the proverbial drinking through a fire hose.
It is, yeah.
But it's all good in the old proverbial neighborhood. We're joined by two of your friends.
Who we got today?
Aaron Rodgers and Bo Jackson.
Oh, my favorites. Yep.
Yep. And why is that funny?
I'm surprised I'm surprised Hurley didn't make another appearance today.
I thought about it a little too soon. Maybe he will make an appearance sometime this week.
Okay.
I know you're going to probably go in a little bit.
I mean, what is there to say?
But I thought about Daniel.
Yeah.
I may, as a matter of fact,
You may switch down in a break.
I may swap Daniel in.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know? How do you know I've got a Hurley? Huh? You
seen-
speculating?
You've shown Hurley before, haven't you?
Not to the public.
Oh, shoot.
Have I? I didn't really want to show him to you. It took all I had to show you Curry.
My guy, Wardell Steffen.
I'm sitting on him.
Wardell, my guy.
Hope his bum is okay.
Me too.
It's all right. They win a lot of games now.
I'm worried about Curry's butt.
Don't you worry. I was worried about the Dodgers last night for a little bit, down 1-0 in spring training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't. That's probably not a good use of your
No,
time.
it's not. 7 unanswered. 7 unanswered. I got once I put Ryder to bed, it was like a free for all.
Yeah.
I'm like, how much am I really enjoying Arizona and Oregon?
Not that much.
Not a lot.
No.
Two teams that are hard to watch, but
Oregon pissed away a giant early lead.
So there wasn't really any drama until yesterday.
Yeah.
And even that was met with, well, I think you travel. Like, as if you don't watch basketball. You don't get to just pick and choose when you want a thing to be called that's been going on for years.
Now it's a travel. I like it when people dunk, but that's a travel.
Right? Have you ever seen people catching together when they rim run? Or so? I'm like, you guys knock it off. Although you could go Hurley and just really.
Hey, I hope they don't F you like they F'd us.
Yeah, I didn't send that to Shane, but I think I needed to for perspective.
I mean,
2 rings.
You think next year when he leaves Omaha, he'll be like, hey, second round, Baldy, second round.
No. I just want you to know they showed the heart of a champion. That's all I know.
Well, that's great for them.
Well, I mean, it is what it is.
At least he doesn't have to throw out any first pitches this year. Good for him.
Wow, you're tough today, aren't you?
I mean, listen.
Tough today.
What is he complaining about?
He's Daniel Hurley.
He's always got something. Not happy when he wins, not happy when he loses. It's always somebody else's fault. Couldn't possibly be his. Couldn't possibly be the team's.
No,
man. It's the refs. They screwed us. Hey, Baylor, I hope they don't screw you like they screwed us.
Did I send that to just you or to the group?
I think you sent it to the group. I think you sent it to the squad.
All right, Shane, I'm going to fire it over to you because
Fat Joe and the terror squad. Lean back.
It is definitely a terror squad. You got that right.
Especially when Jacob decides to go in on me.
Yeah, he was pretty chill.
He was pretty chill this weekend.
But man, tough for conference. Are you a conference affiliation guy?
No.
Me neither.
I don't care. I wanted St. John's to lose.
I don't mean cheering for. I meant when you see who's standing, do you think it validates conferences?
Oh, no. This thing's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like everybody, you can't always be like, hey, it's about matchups and, that's why it makes it so fun and it's a crapshoot and whatever. And then be like, oh, but it validates your conference. No, it doesn't. 7 in the SEC doesn't validate them. You have 16 teams in that conference. Like
14 got in.
All of these numbers are going to start to get broken, right? And everybody's like, oh, here's the thing that really got me this weekend about the SEC is everybody just decided that this was the greatest season any conference ever had in basketball. Do we not remember like 3 Big 12 teams in the Final Four and 3 ACC teams in the Final Four and 3 number 1 seeds out of certain conferences? They didn't even do that.
No, not yet.
They had a really generous bottom of the conference. And Ole Miss has proven itself or whatever, but Oklahoma, Texas, kind of who they were all year.
Well, A&M peed it down their leg.
Kind of who they were all year.
How about that turnaround at about the 7-minute mark?
Yeah.
Michigan was just like, nah.
Yeah, that was weird.
I think I'm good on you guys scoring.
No more.
It's crazy.
They Roberto Duran them. No mas.
Good job, Buzz.
Like, what are we doing?
We did see some crazy halves.
Yes.
Right? We saw Clemson, Auburn. We saw, what was another? Well, shoot, just last night. Iowa State, Michigan State, completely different team.
Just flipping that switch.
Second half.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Really weird.
Iowa State did surprise me. I was a little worried going in, but.
Yeah, I don't know if I thought they were going to lose in that round, but I had Carolina there.
Yeah. I think I have Iowa State.
I think I had them, with the injury and kind of their health situation. I had Iowa State losing in the second round, but I got the team wrong.
So where am I in our Hurrdat Sports?
You're 8th.
8th?
Yeah, you're killing it.
8th out of
100-something, yeah.
And I think I'm the only one that has Whitney as the champion, right? Everybody else is Duke and Floridas.
Ahead of you, yes. There are teams below you that have Houston. But, yeah, you're the only one in that. You're the first one on the standings to have Houston.
Let's go me.
Although there is it's not all Florida and Duke. We do have unfortunate St. John's.
I told you I didn't like it.
They don't score. They don't shoot it well enough. At some point, that was going to beat them.
I just don't like them.
And they shot 28% from the field.
It's
right?
a weird team to watch.
Also, can we talk about Rick Pitino for a second here? Also, kind of a Dean Blandino.
I can't go there with you.
Like, listen, I'll ride with him as a coach.
I can't go there with you.
Listen, I'll ride with him as a coach, okay?
Yeah.
I'll ride with him as a coach. And I thought it was cool that
Are you back to this treating people with kindness thing?
No. I'm on accountability. I'm on accountability with Hurley. Quit blaming stuff on the refs. You weren't good enough this year. Stop it. Just own it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Even though, Liam McNeely was a 5-star, it's pretty talented, pretty hyped up recruit. Alex Caravan's coming off national champ. Like, talent was still pretty good. So maybe something else was going on there, Dan. Maybe you were a little distracted by all the ceremonial first pitches you were throwing out the last year. Who knows? But certainly wasn't his fault. It was on the refs, obviously.
That's tough.
As it always is, okay? But here's my deal with Rick Pitino, right? You bench your star for the last 5 minutes of the game, and then it's like, oh, no, he played 30 minutes. He played a lot. Come on, man.
He wasn't acting right.
So just say that.
Why would he roll the kid?
He rolled him by benching him. Like, that's good. He's already been rolled.
That's not being rolled. That's coaching. That's not being rolled.
If your best player.
Stop pouting. Grow the frick up.
Okay, if you're going to bench him for that, you can't say it out loud?
Well, do you need a pound of flesh? You watch the goddamn game.
I'm just saying. If the question's asked, like, the question's coming.
You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't just throw the kid under the bus and say, you know what? I'm sure some cameras and stuff got me. There were some people sitting 2 rows behind that picked up all of the audio when I told him he needed to grow up and be more mature. But you don't have to rehash it at the presser. And for you to And for you to need your pound of flesh with this dude to say it out loud is ridiculous.
How is wanting him to just tell the truth, wanting a pound of flesh?
Because it's not for you.
Tell the truth. It's not that hard. Just tell the truth.
Listen. Okay, is it so? Are you saying it's lying by omission? Because maybe in his mind he feels like he did play a lot.
I think he's being disingenuous.
Oh, fudge.
You and I both know when he says,
I don't give a damn.
Okay, that's fine. I do.
The guy has taken 6 teams to the NCAA tournament.
He's incredible.
He's earned the right to be a disciplinarian, and he told RJ to get his butt in gear early in the game. Some of that is on the player. Get out of your feelings. It's cool to have. Answer me this. If he told him to get out of his feelings earlier in the game, why did he play the 30 minutes? Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, if it was a problem late, why wasn't it a problem early? Like if it's coaching late, why isn't it coaching
Because this
early?
is what happens. Sometimes you allow somebody to work themselves out of it, and you'll give it an opportunity. And if they don't, then you come back and get it. This ain't new to you. I think you just want to be right.
No, so why can't he say it though? Like, no, I'm being honest here. Like, how is that rolling the kid? If you gave him opportunities to set himself right, why is that rolling the kid?
Maybe it's not. First of all, I think in press conferences where things just happen, to expect perfection is not me. And I'm consistent. I gave Cam Newton grace after the Super Bowl. I've seen locker room meltdowns. I've seen coaches not say the right things right after the game. I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Like I don't need it then. Because stuff runs. No, stuff will come out. But RJ didn't help himself out. And maybe then wasn't the time to single that out, given all the other things that I don't know. I'm just seeing what's out there. But that would be the least of my concerns about Rick Pitino. If that were my son, I'm just telling you, and he was acting like a baby, get his ass out of there.
Okay.
I've done it, but listen.
But okay, tell me this though. If that's how you feel, and I believe you, by the way. I believe you.
Ask Christian Jones about State.
I believe you. But then
that's not the time for me to. I'm not going to go back and say, they're like, hey man, critical series. Why did you? I'm not gonna.
No, but here's my question. So if that's your kid, he's playing for Rick Pitino, he's playing for St. John's, has the exact same situation as RJ Lewis, right? Let's say that all plays out the exact same way. You're cool with him pulling him, right?
Yeah.
Do you then have a problem with him telling you why?
Well, I think we all know why.
Well, maybe.
You don't? You don't know why RJ Lewis?
I do.
Okay.
And you do, but that doesn't mean the question is not valid.
No, the question is fine. Like you ask those in pressers. But my point in this isn't the first time we've seen a coach not go in on a situation when we know what it is. It happens all the time.
Is there anything he can say there about RJ Lewis that you don't feel like is throwing him under the bus?
Not that we didn't see.
Like he can't say we weren't getting what we needed from him. Like, so we put somebody else in.
He could have.
I'm just trying to find, like, is there a way to be honest without throwing the kid under the bus? That's my question.
Yeah, but is that what? So you're like that kept you up?
I would like people to tell the truth more than they do.
I don't even think it's you've like bottom lined it to telling. It's not telling the truth. It's maybe he didn't feel like at that time it was your business.
I mean, this all plays out pretty publicly. It sort of is our business.
But he can control the time frame.
Sure, if he wants to, but I can be okay with him. I can also be not okay with it.
100%.
Like, that's my issue here is to, like, and we let people off the hook for this not you and me, but like the royalty.
It happens all the time.
We let people off the hook for this all the time, where they're just not telling the truth. We know they're not telling the truth.
Were you mad at Mac at halftime when he said, hey, we got to take better care of the ball. Sometimes the ball gets a little sticky and we dribble too much, but that'll happen when you play a defense like Auburn. You don't think he wanted to say, Jemiah Neal, stop dribbling the ball so much? You don't think he wanted to say that?
Well, I thought he also wanted to say, hey, Stephen Ashworth, stop turning it over when
he could. Coaches do it all the time.
Yeah, but he's being honest, and like that's an example of being honest.
He could have elaborated.
He could have.
So could have Pitino, but he didn't.
Well, he also, Coach Mack, didn't act like that the situation would be like, oh, no, I think we're playing great. Like, that's what Pitino came closer to doing than telling the truth.
He played 30 minutes. That's a lot.
Oh, he played plenty.
He played 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of a large omission that your best player doesn't play the last 5 minutes
Hey,
of the
listen,
game.
because when you're coaching and you talk to people, and you'll say things like, Fudge, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Athletes know that. They do.
Yeah.
Right? You may not start, you may come off the bench, but you want to be playing in crunch time. And I'll tell you what R.J. Lewis is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't want this to happen again and he doesn't hop in the portal tomorrow, okay?
Yeah.
He's going to say, hey, you know what? I got to be better in crunch time, because I guarantee you, if he's any sort of competitor, he don't want you to let his coach off the hook. That was on him.
Okay.
He needed a diaper, a pacifier, and the whole rest of the nine, and his team was vibing off of it. And that's not who they are.
He could probably borrow one from Hurley if he needs one.
Well, I mean, it's right down, right up the street.
Right up the road there.
Yeah, man. You know, it's like
back in his backyard.
So it's things like this where it's the duality in my lifestyle that you hear come out with passion.
Sure.
Because
the coach in you understands trying to protect the player.
Yeah, and I had my sorry ass benched.
Sure.
On national television.
Yeah.
Against UCLA, and I'm glad my coach didn't say, this dude practiced like bleep all week. He barely knew what the heck he was doing, and I had to get his rear end out of there. He could have said that.
Yeah.
Right? But what we focus on? Hey, man, a star is born. He's from his hometown. He got to play in a grimy UCLA game. Like, so stuff like, but you know what wasn't going to happen to me again? I wasn't going to let the ink dry under my fingers reading about myself.
Sure.
That ain't gonna happen again.
Yeah.
So, but then there's the coach, right? There's who's had to make some tough calls in some situations, and it doesn't pan out the way that I want it to. But it's not for everybody else to know, right? There are things you can control the timeline in the tenor because you've earned the right. What we do with that information as fan base and media, that's okay. Like we can have our perspective too, but that doesn't make anybody less right or wrong. It doesn't.
Well, listen.
And the feelings and emotions are cool.
Like Pitino can do whatever he wants, right? And I can sit here and not be okay with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like Hurley can do whatever he wants, and I can sit here and call him a little crybaby, right? Because he is. Right? He can, and listen, he's got more national titles than I'm ever going to have, so that's fine.
That's not, you don't have to lower yourself to you can have a take or an opinion, and it doesn't mean you have to have gone through it. Because I don't know why people do that either, because there's only a select few that get to do the things that we're talking about. And if everybody had to do the things that we're talking about, nobody would get to talk. So you don't have to do that either. Like, it's cool. Right? Good. It's a solid opinion. And when you listen to those people that'll come back and say, well, he's won more national championships than you, stop talking to those people. This is what I'm telling you. Stop talking to those people.
No, it's fair.
Protect your energy.
Yeah.
And guard your realm. Those people you can't rationalize with irrational people. You just can't. And at that point, those people just want to be right. They don't want to get it right. So
maybe that's why I don't like Danny Hurley. I think he's an irrational person.
I think there's several things. Knowing your personality.
Oh, there's several things about him that hit me wrong.
Yeah. Well, number one, you think he lacks authenticity.
I do.
So
I do.
You're never gonna get. This is who you are.
I'm not gonna get over that.
Yeah, you're just
no. I think he's fake as all get out.
Like you. So it's like, I mean, I get it.
I think he's like epitome of fake tough guy energy.
But you watch. So we watch one of our very own head coaches. He's gonna do it this spring.
Sure.
He's gonna do it this spring. There's gonna be players that we think are this, that, and the other, and he's not gonna say one word. And you're gonna know.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna know.
So here's
and you're not gonna be like, man, why don't Rule just tell the fan base? Why did he just tell the fan base he's not good enough? Right? You're not gonna hold him to that same standard.
Well, maybe I should.
You won't.
Oh, maybe I should.
It's just not human nature. You like what you like.
So here's the thing. You make a good point there. When I feel like someone is authentic, they get more rope.
Yeah, even if it's to the bad.
They get more rope.
Yeah.
Right? Like Coach Rule is going to get more slack with me.
Because you think he's genuine.
Because I think he's being genuine.
Why do you hate Deion?
So I think he's full of it.
Yeah.
I think he's entirely full of it.
Yeah.
Now listen, Patino's resume. I mean, listen, I don't even like Patino and he's on my Mount Rushmore. Okay. So this is
it's not a resume thing.
No.
With why you don't, but this isn't a resume
No,
thing.
this is I need people to tell the truth more. Because here's part of the problem.
You just rolled RJ Lewis 2 weeks ago over the Big East Player of the Year. And you're upset with his coach for not doing the same?
Well, listen, I'm not his coach. And here's the thing. If he is the Big East Player of the Year, like, is there any scenario in which you can imagine Ryan Kalkbrenner being benched for 5 minutes?
Do you know how many times I wanted Caleb Love benched?
Almost every day.
I wish more coaches had the stones to go sit your ass down.
Hey, I agree. But I need you to be able to tell me the truth about it. That's all. Because here's the problem. Here's the problem with the timing of it, right? Is we're never going to get a chance to go back and get it. We're never going to get a chance to go.
Sure you will. Believe me.
Maybe local media will, but the rest of us won't.
I guarantee Dave's all over it.
I'm going to talk to Dave. Be like, hey.
What are you going to do, hit him up?
Yeah, I'll be like, talk to my guy. Be like, hey, I need the truth about
of
the RJ.
All the things that happened in college hoops this weekend, Patino's under your skin.
I mean, Hurley is who he is. Like, I knew that.
Hey, can you send that to Shane?
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll find it during the break here.
Because between MMS and SMS.
And RMS.
Yeah.
And Titanic.
What is RMS?
It's just a different version of the messaging system.
Yeah, whatever all that is. I have like 17 of the same group.
Yeah, I know you do. I'll find it.
It's not funny.
Oh, it's a little funny. You know who could solve that?
Apple.
Getting rid of that Android.
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
fine. No,
Dan Hurley could probably solve it.
We should dominate their ass on the glass.
Dan Hurley can't even solve his own problems. He's getting thrown out too many first pitches. He's busy. He's got to get back to himself as a coach.
Hey, they showed the heart of a champion in a team that has won 2 national champions.
Hey, that's great for him. That's good for him. You know who really showed the heart of a champion? You know who we should be talking about? Our guy, the Silver Fox.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Manning.
Flipping stud.
I'm just saying. So
that's going to get its own segment.
There is a direct correlation between him appearing on our program and their highest finish ever. There's a 1-to-1 there.
I'm just telling him on a personal level, he is so cool.
Yeah. He always comes like, listen.
You know, just to give us the 30 minutes the morning of.
Yeah.
Very, very.
How many coaches do you know on the morning of a national tournament where they are actively involved?
A guy that's comfortable in his own skin now.
That they're actually going, like they would actually talk to us.
A guy that's comfortable in his own skin.
Like that's incredibly rare. Like maybe Coach Rule, because we've got there's a connection there, but that's it. Like nobody else is giving us that.
Yeah.
Not a soul.
I feel you.
You know, like I appreciate that about him. I also appreciate him kind of giving me the time of day when I'm a novice at this. You know,
that doesn't stop other people from pretending.
Yeah, I heard.
No, I'm just talking about social media all weekend.
Yeah,
damn.
I mean,
Bobby.
I saw.
What
I saw. I saw it on social media. Heard, saw. You know, it's the same thing. The senses get tricky.
Man, listen.
You know.
JG, he's an Android guy. Hashtag Team Android.
All right, well, you and JG can start your own little group chat. You won't have any problems. But when you want the rest of the world involved, it's going to be an issue.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop texting the groups.
That's why I
ride solo anyway.
That's why I only email JG. We don't do the phones.
Kicking myself out of the club that I started. I'll go back to just texting and talking to myself.
Well, don't do that. I don't think that's healthy.
Oh, you have no idea.
There might be some issues there.
Yeah, you have no idea what goes on in this medulla oblongata.
For the record, I don't care who uses Androids and Apple. I just like to give DV a hard time.
Well, that's true.
Before that gets away in the chat, because I feel like that's the direction it's going. I do not care. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Dude, the chat is like chumming.
Yeah.
And there's nothing but tigers.
I know.
And there's nothing but tigers and great whites.
Yeah.
A couple of bulls. Couple bulls, couple tigers, couple greats.
With my stubbornness, I'm really more of a hammerhead guy myself.
Well, to deal with those other 3 sharks, you better be the giant hammerhead, because the regular hammerhead, you ain't cutting.
Just banging my head against the wall there.
Yeah. You little 9, 12, 10 footers ain't cutting it in that water.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We will be back, and we'll talk some Husker wrestling. Your national runner-up, 2 national champions, 8 All-Americans. And
the goal for me in my head was 6.
Well, 6 of them are coming back next year, or can at least. So
I'm like, get to 6.
Yeah. That's an incredible weekend for Nebraska wrestling. We'll talk more about that. And one of the bigger upsets ever.
Well, we'll get to it. There's one other match that I think is in the same hemisphere.
We'll get to that and more coming next here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
We've got some exciting news here to elevate your March to the next level. Introducing Menu Madness here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. This isn't just any tournament. This is a bracket featuring 16 of our most popular food items, and you decide the winner each week when your favorite items go head-to-head. And here's the best part. When you vote, you're automatically signed up for our free loyalty program. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Hurrdat Sports Bar to watch your favorite team, the biggest games, and get those votes in for your favorite menu item today.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live from Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, reminding you, keep those eyes focused and straight ahead while you're driving. You've got one job as a driver, that's to drive. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Guys, nobody cares about – I don't care about the androids. Knock it off.
They're just piling. See, they smell blood in the water.
It's fine. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want, but just
blood in the water.
For the record, the show is recorded. I'm going to say for the record.
FTR for those of you paying attention at home.
I do not care. Both of my parents have androids. I still love them.
There's an old joke in there, too. I know you want to get out.
Oh, no, not really. I know a lot of young people have androids.
Okay.
It's fine.
Aren't you tired of dealing with the cloud? I'm not going to disparage Apple. I don't know enough.
I will say, I don't know enough about clouds. And I know they exist. I know they produce rain sometimes.
I got to show you.
We got cumulus.
Listen.
There's some kind of a nimbus in there as well.
You know, I always tell you about my boy Christian,
mm-hmm.
right? We got a great relationship.
CJ?
Yes. This is the kind of stuff. This is such bad radio, but while I'm on it, this is the kind of stuff that he sends me. Go to bed, man.
Go
to bed.
I hope there's some like mandatory science classes at UNL. I don't know, like just some.
I love him.
Just some prereqs. Just I don't know, maybe just educate a little bit. I don't know.
It's my dude.
Everybody talks about that West Side education. I'm starting to wonder.
Wow.
Shots fired. Shots fired. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's a fine institution.
Yeah. You like have everybody from West Side just hit you up.
And if I, happen to end up buying a house in that region, I hope it stays a fine institution for resale value. Anyway.
Hot Danger just on a roll here.
I don't even what's Hot Danger doing this morning.
And he picked a droid from Star Trek. He's a Trekkie over a Star Warsian.
Ooh, Data's a good call. I like Data.
Oh, now he's your friend.
Brent Spiner. That's the actor who played Data.
I have no idea who and what we're talking about.
I'm a big First Contact guy. Hot Danger. It's a good movie.
Pardon?
First Contact is one of the Star Trek movies.
Oh.
From the Next Generation.
I only know one, and that's the Wrath of Khan.
That's number 2 from the original series.
Only because of Khan, and you know I have a thing for
Khan.
It's not going to sound right, but I have interest in Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan.
Yep, that checks out.
It's not true. You mean
higher the body count, the better.
You make it seem now that at least I'm very discriminate about.
Big Stalin guy too.
No.
I mean like waiting things out, like stalling. Just bide your time.
See, that's why we can't have nice things.
You know who can have nice things? Nebraska wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Nebraska wrestling can have nice things.
I'm sure there were people that were happier. I don't want to rank it, but
we're not going to gatekeep here.
You talk about if I had any bounce still left, like hops, I might have been able to touch the ceiling.
You got dunk?
I'm just glad I didn't fall through my living room floor.
You're watching that mug in the living room, not the basement?
So John and I were upstairs.
Okay.
And Creighton, like the basketball was on downstairs.
Okay.
And those that wanted to watch hoops at that moment
went downstairs.
Hoops, and I made an executive decision. It's not like there's only 4 or 5 people in the house, but I made the executive decision that I was not going to small box
the wrestling. Yeah, fair.
I'm like, nope, it gets the whole screen.
Yeah, wrestling got a big TV at my house.
God, it was, and it's just electric.
Yeah. So I will say, because there's going to be people out there this morning that are going to tell you that wrestling should be more popular and that, people don't give wrestling its due. And listen, it's an incredible event. As somebody kind of coming from the outside who hasn't consumed a ton of wrestling, I do think there are some real obstacles to it becoming more mainstream. Number one, I do think I get it's not totally subjective, But the point system, I think, is hard for people that didn't grow up with it or don't have a great understanding.
Oh, you're talking about like wrestlebacks and
Yeah, well, that not only just the point system of the team standings,
getting
but
to
also
the round of 12 for All-American status.
but also just the actual matches themselves. Like,
I got you.
Like what
scoring
counts.
it?
Yeah, scoring. The
Yeah.
actual scoring of the match, right? It's part of the. That's part of the reason like UFC became popular is it removed a lot of those barriers, even though it's got some of the similar attributes, right? Like a lot of wrestlers end up going UFC. But I think that is a real obstacle for people to understand what's happening in front of them and be like, okay, I get, like, I know when you like a throw, right? You throw a guy or there's a takedown but like you start getting to like the escapes and some of those types of things that get a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, why when you think you see a takedown, you have to get full control or you need the leg bend.
And what does full control mean?
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of things in there that I do think.
What is stalling and what isn't stalling?
Yeah, I mean, because it seemed like people were mad at Taylor at the end there when he kind of is like,
Well, those are the same people that didn't watch Lulla win a Big Ten championship doing the exact same thing.
For
with
sure.
Caleb Smith, but
right? But like
neither here nor there.
So
or half of Penn State's wrestling team. No disrespect. That sounded like Kale is not the GOAT. They are.
Right.
But stylistically,
not your favorite.
Not my favorite.
It's fair.
Elite level fitness, not always as this is Messabring was standing.
Yeah.
And Starachi, but
Sriracha?
Starocha?
A little spicy?
Yeah. For a team that won a national title, though, it was weird to think that Penn State underachieved. That's always funny when you're your own benchmark.
Yeah, and they won by a pretty large margin.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
and it still wasn't what Vegas had it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kobe, I'm not telling them how to fix wrestling. I'm telling you why some people have a hard time getting into it. Right. I'm not saying they should change anything.
Man, Kobe
he's going in. That's fine.
He just like back-to-back days. Usually Kobe has a bad aggressive day and then he kind of chills.
Yeah, it must be the weekend. Must have tied one on or something. But like,
Do you think Kobe's a drinker?
It seems like it.
Amber Box. What do you think he drinks? Yingling?
He seems like a.
Remember, he's not very old. He's high 20s.
Yeah, low 20s. Low 20s,
mid-20s.
I think. Seems like he's rocking the Stones.
Bush?
Keystone Light.
They still make that?
I don't know. That was a staple in the younger years around town when I was younger.
I'm gonna guess non-drinker.
You think so?
Yeah.
Maybe you should start then. Chill out a little bit.
Damn.
No, it's like I think there's legitimate obstacles for people to understanding and becoming fans of the sport. Like there's certain things like basketball is pretty easy to understand, right? You score like how you score points is very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
There's intricacies you don't totally get. Even like hockey, right? I may not understand the strategy and everything that's going on in terms of what they're trying to do.
And I was correct.
Not a drinko. There you go.
Yeah.
I
can even profile through the computer.
What's your profile on Genghis Khan?
Killer.
With an ER and A.
Sociopath, narcissist.
I do think there's some obstacles.
I got lots of adjectives for Genghis Khan.
He was like that in Star Trek.
Yeah. Khan. It's a different Khan, but sure.
Yeah. Kubla Khan?
Yeah.
David Khan? Greatest GM in Minnesota Timberwolves history?
Debatable.
Yeah, that's sarcastic. He passed on Steph Curry twice for Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn.
Rubio would have been nice, though.
Yeah, without the injuries. One of those is justifiable.
Rubio was nice.
Two of them is not.
I feel you. Although there are lots of folks that passed on your boy Wardell.
Only 5. Only 5.
Yeah.
Because Khan did it twice.
All right.
But no, it was really exciting. Like one thing that I can get on board with, obviously, is you got Nebraska. I can ride with Nebraska. I can ride with Taylor. He's an Omaha guy, right? So I can ride with that.
Been through it too, man. Losing fan, big fan.
I also I do like Mark Manning. We've only talked to him a couple times, but that's a guy that I want to root for. I want to cheer for.
He's sensational.
He represents his program in the university and the state the way I want all coaches to represent the program and the university.
I mean, anybody can feel free to chime in. I understand what you said,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you may finally after 64 seconds, which can be an eternity sometimes when you want to make a point. Not the span of us working together, which is a handful of years now. 6, 7 maybe.
Getting there, yeah.
I do like the distinction between it being what it is as a niche sport and how much we could actually talk about it from a coverage standpoint before you reach a point of diminishing returns.
Sure. Yeah.
I acknowledge as without question, maybe Cody. Certainly don't have a lot of other peers as long, and I'm older and have followed it longer than Cody. There are very few wrestling fans that that are bigger wrestling fans than me.
I don't know anyone that is. Like, legitimately, I don't know anyone.
I mean in the weeds, right? Like,
yeah.
So, and I would talk about it every day if I could. I just know I'm just not sure that's what everybody's interested in.
The only person I know that's even close is Evan, and he came to it late, right?
Yeah.
And he loves it.
And he's just a pup.
And he's super into it. But, like, this is, like, in your blood.
Yeah.
Like, literally. Like, this
literally in my blood.
This
like,
is what you do.
Going to, like, watching, like living on a mat. Yeah.
This is, I mean, everybody knows, like, your family history. Like, this is in your blood.
100%.
Right? So, it'd be hard to be a bigger fan than you. But there's just, I don't even, outside of you and Evan, of people that I actually know and aren't just, like, people that come into the show and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted to text him about Gable getting beat in 80. And it's like
he probably doesn't have that in the Rolodex, if I had to guess.
No.
Because
that's the only other match I can think of at the collegiate level.
That would be bigger than Stevenson losing or Stevenson.
Even when Lee lost, it wasn't the same. Because Gable took no time off.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, that was it. He was at one point perfection.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about
Dan Gable.
Dan.
Not
Stevenson.
Yeah.
And he was too.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I mean, so you've obviously got the Olympic gold medal. You've got.
You talking about Rulon?
No, I'm talking about Gable.
Gable
Stevenson, right? Coming in, he's got the Olympic gold medal. He's got 2 natties under his belt at this point, coming in, going for the 3rd. Sort of a foregone conclusion he was going to win.
Yeah.
Right? And
he had just bullied and thrown and tossed his way to championships.
Right. Which is
comes across as fairly indifferent.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought
I don't have I've watched him, and so that's who. Well, it's not him, but just the name, Jernigan. He has a Gable. Now his is after Dan, but that has a particular affinity for Stevenson, and he's a hard guy to cap. Like, if I was going to profile old Gable, he would be tough.
Yeah.
I would literally have to sit across the table from him and just watch for a little bit.
Is there any part of you that, like, because of the other pursuits, ever wondered, like,
how dialed he was?
Yeah. There's a lot else going on there, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, Hendrickson was so good.
Yeah.
You
don't want to take anything away from Hendrickson.
No.
By making it about Stevenson.
No, because...
But, like, the WWE and the football thing and,
let's not act like he dominated. I mean, it was nut-cutting time
for sure in
the 3rd period, and he had to get busy.
Yeah.
And he did. He answered the dinner bell. Like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And, it's well documented. People don't know why. They just know what they saw. But, like, with the American flag and Gable not being happy and them talking trash and, like, it had the... Is pageantry it had the...
Yeah, I think pageantry's right. Kind of the pomp and circumstance and the whole thing.
It had everything going.
Yeah. Presidents in the crowd. Like, yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was an event, right? And the atmosphere was incredible, right? Unbelievable atmosphere. Love that.
I asked my guy. I was like, John, we were trying to, like, find empty seats because he's weird like me. He'd like let me rewind. It's the 2 of us, and I'm like, hey, do you mind? Like, he's like, oh no, we're a rewinding family. Like, we're trying to score at real time.
Yeah.
Right. The Hardy match was driving me crazy, but outside of that, we were, like, literally trying to score at real time.
Yeah.
And just watching all of it, I felt like It's just it was just a great night. Didn't to see him get Coach of the Year honors?
Yeah, which was awesome. I mean, that's
was pretty teary. I don't know. I love those guys. I love the program. Every year I pick a favorite,
Mhm.
and I go back and forth. And I remember a couple years ago when it was Ridge.
Oh, so you were pretty big on Ridge too, right?
Well, and then like Jessica started riding with Ridge,
And so, too many people liked him, so you had to
Yep.
find somebody new.
and it was new. Like we just were captivated by his style.
Yeah.
because he was so aggressive.
Yeah.
And now the whole team is like that.
Yeah. Which I kind of like.
Yeah.
I like aggressive styles.
So, like behind the scenes, like Sausage is made, apparently, like the two keys.
Mhm.
The number one, they've got a guy on staff who I think flies under the radar, doesn't get enough credit. But their mental health coach apparently is the real flipping deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I want to know about the mismatched shoes.
Okay.
Did you ever notice that? Yeah. Like I don't know. Let's get to Cody before I get emotional.
That's
Cody!
Let's get to our guy, Wrestling Cody. What's going on, bud?
Well, it's a great weekend, gentlemen.
Cody, I wish people
knew Damon more.
I wish people knew how young you were, Cody, because you have so many old man tendencies. Your voice is like a 65-year-old, and then it's just like you're this pup, man. It's like, well,
I mean, we also got to remember, like, the three people I talk to most are a mid-50s Al Genito, mid-50s Matt Favre, and you. So, like,
yeah, and I'm low 50, so there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I keep my circle in the same group.
Like it. What's up?
Well, we'll start with the Huskers, obviously. Like, it's hard to fathom. A team just scored 117 points, had 2 national champions, 8 All-Americans, and they weren't within 50 points of the team lead.
Yeah.
Like,
and at no point held the lead.
I was saying it was never in danger.
No, hold on. They held the lead for 30 seconds between when Minto won.
Oh yeah, yep. You're right.
Haynes got his win.
Yep.
And George Burroughs tweeted out, "End the tournament right here." They held a half-point lead for about 30 seconds. No, it's just like it's so nice for it to finally come to fruition, because how many years have we dominated the Big Ten tournament, and then there's a little setback at the NCAA tournament, or there's a setback at the Big Ten tournament? Like, they put it together for both tournaments, and it was just everyone's like, if you would have told me a month ago McDaniel and Minto would have been All-Americans, come on. Like, those guys turned it up a notch these last 3 weeks.
All right.
And then obviously you know my thoughts on Caleb Smith.
Yep.
Like, he went above and beyond my expectations.
But he still gives you some Vens 2.0 vibes, right?
Yes, correct. Because the thing with him and Ven, they are so technically sound, so athletic, and they prove it when they decide to turn it on. They can go get a takedown whenever they want. But it's just like,
another high point guy.
Do this in the first period. Quit going to overtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what's that?
Who do you think is harder on themselves by Saturday night, Hardy or Caleb Smith?
100% Hardy.
He had his work cut out.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and stylistically, I was like, oh boy, here we go. We I don't know. Go ahead.
How similar was that to the match at the Big Ten?
Yeah, I know. I was getting deja vu vibes.
Yes, and then here comes Mendez with 5 seconds to go in the first period, gets a takedown. Now it's a 1-point match. And it's the same thing that happened at Big Ten. And I mean, we got Hardy coming back next year. Hopefully, there's a certain heavyweight that's down in North Carolina right now that might be coming back for his final year. If you saw his Twitter, he's not very happy down at NC State right now.
No, and you know what? I went to go watch some baseball at the high school this Saturday morning early, and I was walking in there with Jernigan, and we were talking about him. He's at such a tweener weight with that body type.
Yeah.
You know, because he's ripped. They were talking about Trumbull.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just got his hands. He's in like no man's land.
Yeah. But he finished in 4th place, and the 3 guys ahead of him are all graduating.
Yeah. It's a tough class. It's a tough weight class.
And then the thing I want to talk about with Captain America is, first off, look at the steps that Dean Hamity and him took in 1 year, transferring to wrestle for David Taylor.
Yeah.
And that's my next point is, like, everyone's talking about, I can't believe, that Captain America takes out an Olympic champion. He's also wrestling an Olympic champion every day in the wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting his hands on David Taylor every day.
Were you cool with Gable kind of not gatekeeping, but I don't want to have that be like the term of the year, but the whole Olympic, the U.S. flag, that kind of deal, or did you kind of get it?
So I understood it because you have to understand getting to know, I can't even say getting to know, meeting Gable, Ravi, AJ Ferrari off the mat. They are showmen. They're going to do that when the camera's on, when they're in their interviews. But you go talk to those guys off the mat, and they're some of the kindest people you will ever meet. And it showed. Did you see the podium when they gave the trophy to
Hendrickson? Yeah.
Gable standing there lifting Hendrickson's arm up, patting him on the back, clapping him, doing the USA chant.
You know how I knew he was going to come around is when he was kind of on his knees, realizing what had happened. I think he had that.
Came up there.
He had it. He had that look on his face, like, man, that was damn good.
Yeah.
It's almost like he wanted to give it up to him right then and there.
Oh yeah, and the best part is Olympic team trials in 2028. That's going to be your final for freestyle heavyweight.
Yeah,
for those two.
What about? So you've got if everybody comes back next year, and you assume I won't assume anything. You got 6 AAs, right?
Correct.
Are you allowing yourself to think about expectations yet? It's wrestling, so I'm afraid because anything can happen at any given week.
You and I are different because we can process everything. We look around, we see the movement that happens, every month. Guys moving here and there, coaches. We understand, like, this is just the tip of the iceberg for David Taylor. Oklahoma State's only going to get better.
Yeah. You sound like Journey.
Iowa's got some stuff to figure it out.
Yeah. So Journey said give Taylor 2 years.
Yeah, correct. Right. And with what he's got coming in, and that now Nebraska, I'll feel better if they get Casey Swiderski to replace Ridge. He went into the portal Friday from Iowa State. I'll feel better about that. But I can also process, like, it's going to be really hard because guys are going to move weight classes. Like, Amtrol, it's not a foregone conclusion. It's going to win it next year. Look at Caleb Henson this year. Like, things have to align correctly again next year. But I have right now I'm the top 5 team. They go out and get Swiderski and get Trumbull, then we're talking, this could be a national championship caliber team. But they also have to take their strides. You can't just be happy with the second place. And, like, obviously it's the greatest finish in school history. But from a point where you and I are at where, like, yes, we're going to celebrate this, but when it comes to November 1st next year, we have new goals. Yeah. It's over. It's a new season.
All right, Cody. We celebrate together. You can have my cheers. I'm toasting my glass to you when you're on your way to work.
Yes, and I'm only going to come out with one more thing.
What do you got?
Be better local media. Not a single person from the World-Herald, Journal Star, nobody there except for Drew Castle.
Yeah. I get it. Talk soon, bud.
Yeah. Talk to you later. Good work.
That's hard, right? Kind of what you were talking about earlier.
It's hard. Because here's the other thing. Is you send somebody from the local media and you don't think they know what they're talking about, you're going to be mad about that too. Like, that's the problem.
You want a wrestling guy?
You want a wrestling guy and you want people coverage, but you're going to be mad if you have coverage and you don't think the wrestling expertise is good enough. Like, I get it. It's a big deal in this state, and you should probably have some journalists that are experts in wrestling. But if that's not currently the case, do you want the coverage or do you want the expertise? Because it doesn't seem like the option is to have both right now. We'll talk to Sam McKewon coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live. Here is the sports editor for the Omaha World-Herald, Sam McKewon.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Sam McKewon.
We're gonna throw the ball, and you just stand back there and throw it where you want to go. And that kind of thing.
Sam McKewon.
Are you guys going? Sure.
Now, Sam McKewon.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. Sam, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are hanging in there. How's the weather?
It's chilly but good. It'll It's going to be a warm week, which is good. I think maybe the team will be practicing out in the rain one of those days. I'm sure he'll have them go out in the rain. And, you know what we haven't seen a lot of so far? We haven't seen a whole bunch of like pre-spring videos. Yeah. We haven't seen like, chasing for or whatever it would be. Like, is that, I mean, we can ask Rule that, but is that all like done? Is that like they're just time to move on from all that?
We've been talking about this for like a month, Sam. So we'll start right here. And I was kind of talking with Ravi. It just seems like, and you're there, you're close, so you can get a sense of the vibe. It just seems like with the whole, and I apologize for our listeners because they've heard me say this before, with the whole, hey, I talked to our team about winning close games. Like it's not a curse. Like we just need to be better. Or with guys on social media, hey, just play football. Just worry about getting better. Hey, it's year 3. Like this is a big year. We need to get better on the field. He's kind of set the tone for it being just about football. And I wonder if it's trickled into the social media stuff too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, for sure.
Because I don't know what's going to happen in the spring and all of a sudden what they'll be doing with that. But I think he still wants to market because they do have such a, first of all, they have a fantastic production group. But
yes, they do.
And they have a good online presence. I don't know if he would be willing to scrap that. I just think maybe he's not interested in kind of the pushback and the slack that he caught from the chasing 3.
The pushback. No, a lot of people liked that though.
There's a lot of snark out there. I think the last third.
Sure.
Of the season.
Well, yeah. Well,
I guess we only release them when we win, or
yeah,
stuff like
there
that,
was that, and I don't want to put words in his mouth because I honestly don't know. He and I have never had that conversation, but I'm just saying, knowing his personality, I can't imagine. I'm sure he's probably pretty pissed about that. Like, it's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always a little bit of a risk.
Yeah.
And when you're doing those things,
and maybe he's in the risk mitigating business now, right? He's like that with schedule. He's like that with schedules. He's
man after my own heart.
Risk mitigating. Yeah, I don't know. It is going to be fascinating because I'm going to be learning the same time
you can tell it's
will.
a little. Yeah, it's you can tell there's a little bit more of a button down is not the right phrase because I mean Rule is super transparent, but
you know what else I think it is?
Urgent. Yeah.
You know what else I think it is? I think this is the hardest in the offseason he's worked since he's been here with molding his own staff.
Right.
You've heard about the 6-hour staff meetings, the head coach coaching coordinators coaching assistant coaches. I think he's really dialed in on getting his staff ready for the rigor too. Maybe that's it.
It could be. I mean, that's entirely possible.
Because he hasn't been around with those guys a ton.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of them are new hires, so yes, for sure. Like some of them are guys that were doing other jobs or whatever.
Yeah, Sam, I do think it's interesting. This is probably the strangest. Probably isn't the right word, but most unknown staff dynamic that he's ever had as a head coach. I mean, this is the first time it seems like he's really gone out of his circle for almost everybody on staff.
I would agree.
Right. I think he hired, an offensive head coach or whatever you want to call it in Holgerson. And so I think he hired somebody that's going to manage all of that and needs to. I think the one thing I would say is, there might have been a little bit of whatever in that first year on offense where Harburg's going over and talking to Rule and he's talking to, so I think he hired an offensive coach to come in and do the things that need to be done on that side of the ball. And the key is the defense has to, if they're going to crank up their pace, and I'm not saying that I'm not guaranteeing they're going to do that, but if that's what they do and they decide that they're going to move faster, then, you have to have a defense that makes plays because, your defense is going to be on the field a little bit more if you're moving up your tempo. And last year they deliberately dialed it down and they moved pretty slowly, and they saved snaps on their defense, but their offense also suffered. So like, I'll be curious to see what the tempo is for the offense, how fast they want to move, because I think Raiola would probably really enjoy going quickly. And then how that affects the defense and whether the defense has playmakers who can make plays.
Oh, I don't know if I could see that happening. That's interesting to hear it out loud. Like I don't know if I could see them playing with intentional pace unnecessarily, if that makes sense. Because I don't know. That's interesting because you have a lot of new pieces. Like, how fast do you think they could play or want to play? I can't see him intentionally doing that in this conference, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious to see, and maybe they won't do that.
Although the bowl game start was pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
They played with some pace.
They did. You can turn up and down tempo, obviously, in the course of the game, but I don't know. Like, I just feel like you have to create some sort of advantage on offense. Like, the defense has sort of an embedded advantage before every snap because the defense can move around and do whatever they want. And the offense, the advantage the offense has is the defense doesn't know what they're going to do. But you have to do more than that. So, like, when you huddle up and you do things like that, well, you can shift your personnel all the time and you can have, more detailed plays and the communication is better and you can have, motions and shifts and trades and all those things. When you go to the system they're going to go to, if you're going to pare your playbook down, I would think that you're going to want to try to increase the amount of execution, and you may want to do that from a tempo standpoint. Like, if you're able to kind of move a little bit more quickly, it's possible that they won't do any of that. I think that's why I said I'll be curious to see what they choose, how they choose to play, and whether they choose to, move briskly the way that Holgorsen wants to move, or if they choose, to do something differently. I mean, he has run tempo offenses in the past, and again, I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I'm intrigued to see kind of like how he chooses to tackle that. Let's see. At his last year at Houston, they ran 75 plays a game.
That would be about right for me. I think Nebraska wants low 70s.
Well, you want low 70s because you're winning all the time. Sure. Yes. I mean, yes. That's yes. But in theory, you would be able to control the game. Nebraska was.
When I throw out a number like that, Sam, I'm eliminating variables, right?
Okay.
Third down stops, right, or third down conversions. I'm saying the target number, I think that's a good number of offensive plays, all things being equal, is 75 for this. Is about that number.
It was 68 in 2024, so 68 plays.
A little too low. Not enough third down conversions.
And then in 2023, Rule's first year, it was 60. It was 61.
Oof. Way.
Now, one of the reasons now it's too low. I agree with you. And their third down conversions weren't good enough. I'm saying they went slow. They're like they embraced the molasses speed defense or offense in part to protect the defense. Like, that's part of what you get out of it is if you slow down, your defense does not receive as many reps. In the game where Nebraska really hummed last year against Wisconsin, what did Nebraska's defense do? I mean, they gave up a lot of yards. And so I always felt like, Rule's going to lead with, we're going to protect the culture and the confidence of the defense. Our offense is going to complement that unit, not the other way around. And so they moved accordingly. Now, maybe they'll do that with Holgorsen, but teams that run that many plays generally, have their share of 3 and outs, and that's where you're running into, okay, well, how fast are we going to move? Like, Scott Frost's first team at Nebraska ran 72 plays a game. That was in 2018, and it moved pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But the defense couldn't handle it. We watched the games. the defense really struggled to handle the tempo with which, they tried blitzing. Remember, I mean, you were watching. They tried to be aggressive. It didn't work. They lost to Northwestern, and they couldn't cover people. And the year later, they went with 72 plays a game. So, like, Frost kind of had a vision. They just couldn't get the defense to make enough plays. And so he had to then turn it back down. Remember, he kind of turned it back down. Anyway, we're just going into the big pass. But that's part of what I wrote about today. And Holgorsen has a reputation for running a lot of plays. So I'm curious to see if he dials that all the way back because he's working for Rule.
Sam, I've been wondering, as it seems like, whether it's the video stuff, and it just seems like they're not maybe going to give us as much insight this spring. Have you wondered at all about how much you think you're going to be able to learn this spring versus previous years?
We may learn less. I mean, Rule is really honest. And so, like, sooner or later within a press conference, you get into his pitch count, and he'll tell you something that he probably didn't go into the press conference planning to say. And then Holgorsen is, he's just going to be him. So whatever he wants to say, he's going to say. So we're probably going to learn something from their comments. I don't know that we're going to see much. But, I think the dynamics are kind of out there. And Damon over the last several weeks has laid a lot of those dynamics out. You've got some dudes in this program who are younger, and can they make that jump and get to that level now, like not a year from now, but now, and then make it really interesting in terms of the competition with those transfers. I mean, they brought in the transfers to play, but I'm sure they would absolutely love a situation where, Hardly Gilmore and Isaiah Hunter aren't just playing because they're the best guys. Like Keelan Smith and, other people are coming, and they're there and they're making plays. And it's like, oh man, now we have a dilemma on our hands. And in the secondary, the same deal. Like you want the young guys that you recruited as high school players to really push Bly Hill and Jameer Khan. And you really want them, and Jameer Khan's hurt, but Khan and Marshall and Hill and, those guys, you want there to be a conversation. Mm-hmm. You want Deshaun Singleton to be challenged. Like, I understand why they brought Deshaun Singleton back. When he's healthy, he's really good, but you want a situation where Deshaun Singleton's not playing as many snaps as he was last year because there's a guy that you just got to get on the field.
Yeah. You don't want, you want Buford challenged.
Correct.
Yeah.
You do, yeah. And I think they've got a secondary coach who's going to embrace all that. And
they do.
Yeah, like and he has probably the most talented room, like the most group of talented players, and so like he's got to try to figure out who's going to get snaps and who isn't, and there's the conversation for sure. You can put Buford and Hartzog on the field. Malcolm Hartzog plays really hard, and I respect the heck out of that guy. There's plays last year where there wasn't much more he could do because he is 5'9", and USC catches the ball over him. And what ideally you would love to have, Sierra Wright and Bly Hill if he's healthy, or Sierra Wright and Andrew Marshall if he's good to go. Not because they play harder than Hartzog, but like they're 6'1" and Hill's 6'4". Nobody's going to catch a ball over Bly Hill. Now, they might catch one in front of him, and he's got to go up and make a tackle. Or Donovan Jones, who's, not 5'9". So, like, there's just all kinds of things that they're going to have to work through, and it's that balance. And Damon's laid all that out. Like, now it's a question of, are those young guys going to step up and really push? And if they do, it affords Matt Rule the opportunity to embrace some of the young guys and put them out there, because it's a better 2-year look if they're able to play early than if we're just going to go with the transfers this year and then we'll get to these guys in year 3 and year 4. Like, the offensive line is the biggest one to me. You'd really love to see 3rd year Sam Sledge, 3rd year Brock Knutson, 2nd year Grant Brick. You'd love to see those guys move into it and not have this have to be, are Teddy and Turner going to come back? Like, Teddy and Turner have been here a long time. There's guys in the program that probably don't remember much about like Turner playing because he's been so banged up. So like you want to be able to move forward. if you can, but those kids have to prove it.
Sam, I want to change gears here on you a little bit away from football. So it's just been sort of reported that Ben McCollum is going to take the job over at Iowa. And I just wonder, looking through the lens of Nebraska basketball and where they're at, what does Ben McCollum moving into your backyard do to your expectations or kind of your hopes for Nebraska basketball moving forward?
Well, I've talked to John Walker a little bit because John obviously covered Ben at Northwest Missouri State for like 4 years. But I've also watched just the way that they play. So here's what I would do. They went out and hired a guy that will not use I don't have enough NIL as an excuse.
Yeah.
They went out and hired a guy who will try to control the game through X's and O's. They went out and hired a guy whose team got pretty well beat by Texas Tech. I will say that too. So like that game wasn't. They beat Missouri, but they didn't come that close to beating Texas Tech. And so like it depends on what Iowa wants. If Iowa wants a guy that's going to come out and drake it up, they can make the NCAA tournament every year. I don't know that they're getting a guy that's going to like get them to the second weekend with the current approach. But that's Iowa. Nebraska would love that. And so what's interesting is that Nebraska is going to watch this guy go to Iowa, and this guy fits a lot of the components that I think Nebraskans would want in a coach. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch because I think there's still a lot of respect and support for Fred Hoiberg, no question. But, like McCollum's going to do it a little bit different way. Now, that was kind of Tim Miles too, and it didn't work out. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because I could see Nebraska having a lot of success against Iowa with McCollum there because he's not able to get elite players because their NIL won't support it. The other thing is you have to want to go play in a league on a team that's going to slow its pace down almost purposefully. And not everybody wants to do that. Whereas at Nebraska, if Fred's got the right NIL money, he's able to say, you can come here and play at an NBA pace once we get things going. And that's attractive. So like this comes down to a talent thing. And I know there's a lot of, there's been a lot of whatever about, does Nebraska have enough money to go out and compete? And I get all that. I feel like that's an interesting shift in the conversation. Like now it's going to be Nebraska's fans' fault that they don't like, I don't know. I don't want that to, I hope it doesn't shift to that. And it feels like it's going to shift to, well, the NIL offerings they're not raising enough money.
Sam, I'm with you. That shouldn't be. I'm with you. I hope it doesn't shift there either. And believe me, if anybody's tried to do their best, it's me. Like I don't think that's the issue. I don't.
No, I agree with you. I just like Nebraska's fans have been remarkably loyal to that program. And anytime you say the words NIL, you're not talking about revenue sharing. Revenue sharing's over here. We'll see what NIL looks like after April 7th. But up until July 1st, you can offer NIL money, and then it's supposed to shift over once the House settlement's approved. When you say NIL, you're talking about wealthy fans giving Nebraska basketball money to get players. And, that's interesting to me. Like that now let's shift to that and let's say, well, the real issue here is not having enough NIL funds to go get the players that you need. And that's very close to saying the fans aren't being supportive enough. And I'm not sure. I think Nebraska fans have been extremely supportive of the basketball program, given its relative success over the many years. So and Fred's not the one pushing that narrative, by the way. Fred's not saying any of that. I don't think he would ever do that. I don't think he would ever use that as a reason. He doesn't like talking about NIL. He's not one of these coaches that's like, well, boy, the things really changed. He doesn't do that. And I appreciate and I respect that he doesn't do that. He doesn't make it all about that. I'm just saying that's becoming some of the story. The reality is Iowa just hired a coach who's going to say, I don't need the NIL money. You can give me it and I'll go get a better player, but I'm going to win without it. That's interesting to me. Like, that's super interesting. Iowa's got their center visiting Creighton, according to Joe Tipton. Owen Freeman is going to visit Creighton. And I suspect Creighton will have more money than a lot of schools will because they don't have to share it with football teams. But Creighton's gonna go in the portal and do what it needs to be done. Like that's a blue blood program at this point. Like that's an elite program. Nebraska's not quite at that level, even though they've beaten Creighton 2 of the last 3 years. And I'll be curious to see what Nebraska is able to do over the next month and what the narrative. Not Fred, he doesn't push this, but what the general thought process is about whether Nebraska can be successful. Feels like it shifted from, hey, they got to play better to, well, they just didn't have good enough players because they didn't have enough NIL money, and that's an interesting shift.
Sam, when we're talking about NIL and fan support, though, we're talking about like two different types of fans for the most part, right? Like most fans of a program aren't the ones giving major NIL dollars, and most people giving major NIL dollars don't make up a huge, like when PBA sold out or close to sold out every game, like only a small fraction of those people are actually funding most of the NIL operations, right? Like, so I feel like sometimes we kind of conflate those two things, and that's not necessarily the case. Like, I feel like you've got the everyday fans, and then you've got like the booster fans.
Yeah, I think Nebraska basketball has good boosters too. Like, I think they have a gorgeous training complex, and that was, a booster stood behind that. Like that, I think they've broadly been pretty since PBA opened and since Hendricks opened. I think they've been fairly well supported. But again, then we're shifting. What we're doing is we're shifting the onus of success onto wealthy people who I'm not in the business of telling people how to spend their money.
Yeah.
Like that's and I think it's who's often said that, I think, is Sipple. He was I'm not going to tell people how to spend their money, and related to like coaching salaries or whatever it was. And I think the same thing. Like, it's hard for me to tell a booster or like say, well, they just need to give this money. People who have that money have the right to give it to the football building or the volleyball program or the women's basketball program. They can give it to who. Now, you know what? Mark Manning just went and finished second at the NCAA tournament. Maybe a booster's like, I'm inspired by that, and I'm gonna fund some money over there. Like, people should. I'm not going to tell people how to spend their money. Now again, it is a reality that if you're in the bottom half of NIL in the Big Ten, you're probably not going to get as good of players. But as we both know, Nebraska and Indiana both missed the NCAA tournament, and one of them had a whole bunch of money and one of them didn't. And Nebraska beat Indiana on the court. So, like, it's more than just NIL, I think. And Nebraska was close to making the NCAA tournament. So, and they didn't lose down the stretch. The games that cost them the NCAA tournament were losses to Iowa and Minnesota, and neither one of those teams had as much NIL money as Nebraska. I think. I'm not sure. So, like, the start of the Nebraska-Minnesota game wasn't about NIL. So I think there's just a conversation to be had about how quickly that shifted. I get it. It's the portal era, so you are going to have to go out and get players, but I just want to be mindful of Ben McCollum is why you asked that question. And the thing about him is I think Iowa went and hired a coach that's not going to demand a $5 million NIL fund. He's going to be like, give me what you want, but I'm going to go win anyway. Now, whether he does or not, I don't know, but his mindset is he's going to win without it.
Sam, two things. I think one football, one general wrestling. From football, I'm trying to come up with. We're gonna do some categories tomorrow, just for fun. It's spring. I don't think we talk enough about players, and I get it, right? It's hard, new roster, whatever, but plenty of returning guys too. And I'm thinking of some categories, and like sleepers or keepers, or now or never, or I'm interested in, whatever the categories are. And kind of just talking about some guys in some positions. Is there an area of said categories or one of your own that you think you'd be relatively interested in if Nebraska is going to be pretty good?
What category?
Is there a category where you would call it like guys that need to perform, or if they come around then or what, because I don't have the categories yet. There's going to be about 4 or 5. Is there an area that interests you that we should categorize?
Yeah, I think that, line play is so important in the Big Ten. And the story about Nebraska's 2 lines of scrimmage at this point are the story of young players need to step up.
Okay.
And so, I think about where maybe on the offensive line they don't have to, but I think Nebraska would love it if they had options and it wasn't just, well, we hope this guy comes back healthy. So I think the offensive and defensive lines is a place. And then I kind of rank it by competitiveness, of unit, like competition and options, and the secondaries at the top. Candidly, at this moment, obviously quarterback, we already know who the starter is going to be, but I'd almost put running back below that. They really need to figure out that position. And
that's interesting. They were productive down the stretch. Why do you pick running back? I'm curious.
Because their productivity, 2/3 of it is gone. They have to. I mean, Emmett Johnson has, kudos to him. He's stayed healthy. Well, he's played. He's tough.
Right.
But you're an injury away there from a question mark. And I mean, his backup is going to be either Quentin Ives, Lakai Nelson, Jamarian Parker. Connor Booth, maybe. He's banged up. I just don't know if I see that. One of those 3 names, right? Well, how many combined career carries do they have? 3. So, you have to have another back. It's not like Emmett can play 70% of the snaps, but I went back and did this. Amir Abdullah played some ridiculous percentage of snaps in 2013 or 2014, and he's still, Terrell Newby still had 70 carries or whatever. So you can't just get it with one guy alone. You got to play 2. So at quarterback, you literally can play 1. You don't have to. If you're in 12 close games, Dylan Raiola can take every snap. That is just not true at running back. And so now they got to figure out who that second guy is. And so it is competitive in a way, but it's just Emmett Johnson's such an unquestioned starter there. He and Raiola are kind of the 2 that you just don't question, right?
Yeah. I got some ideas. I got some ideas for tomorrow.
Sam,
who are the most questionable? Who are the unquestioned starters, and who are the ones where you just don't know yet? There's a cat.
The unquestioned starters. That's a good one. Unquestioned starters, which don't know.
Yeah.
There's not many.
That's a good one. That's a good category.
Yeah.
There's not many.
Are you
There's
jotting
2.
I'm writing that one down.
I want to be a little different, but that's a good one.
That's a good.
I don't know how many of those there are.
There aren't. I really do think Sierra Wright, he's in. His production last year was pretty good, and so I think he's gonna start. I feel good. I feel confident there, and I feel confident with Dylan and Emmett, and Justin Evans, and Rocco Spindler. Those are probably the 5. That's name 6, 5. I don't know. Does anybody really know who's going to start in the front 7 on defense? Probably Vincent Shavers will, but we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. No.
Yeah.
Who's the middle linebacker transfer? I feel pretty good about that one.
Sure.
That's
but I'm
not
just
a lot though. You're right.
You know how good they want to be on defense? They have 4 coordinators. 4 guys with coordinator experience.
And
Matt
that's
Rule,
I 100% agree with that. He's a defensive guy, and he knows it's hard to be good on defense. He really wants to be good on defense.
Oh, they want to be Georgia. It's so obvious to he hired Phil Snow back. He's got Butler. He's got Addison Williams, who was a coordinator. He's got himself. He has 2 coaches for the defensive line. They want to be good on defense. The level of pressure he's going to put on everybody in that room to be not just pretty good, but elite, is high. So it'll be fun to watch that because, John Butler got his chance to call plays. He got his chance, but there's a bunch of people in the room that all have great opinions too. So no pressure.
Do you want to get a wrestling in real quick?
Do you?
Yeah, no, that's my bad.
Typically not how we do radio,
I
but
forgot.
or
That's my bad.
live shows, but sure, you can confer.
You said you had a wrestling question for Sam.
I said I thought you might.
Oh.
Do you want to have this conversation while we got a guy on there?
No, that's my bad. Sam, no, I wanted to get into, because you've got a unique perspective on this. Sorry, I dropped the ball there. Sam, we've been talking with some of our listeners here about the coverage of Nebraska wrestling versus their success rate. And one of my arguments was that, it's a difficult sport to be an expert in, because there are some intricacies that if you don't grow up with it or you don't have a huge familiarity with it, it's hard to kind of pick up on the fly. But you have this hugely successful program at the same time that maybe doesn't get the coverage that it maybe deserves. Like, how do you balance that as someone who has feet in those worlds of covering Nebraska and deciding who gets coverage?
Yeah, I mean, we covered each night of the event. We obviously weren't in Philadelphia, but we covered each night of the event, and we saw a readership response. We've had features all year. Gene Schinzel's done a really good job.
That's the guy. I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
it's Schinzel.
Yeah. Gene's done a great job. And so there was a feature on Antrell Taylor early in the season, and we love it. Brock Hardy, and there's probably been a feature on just about every high profile wrestler down there this season. I don't know if there pretty much was. And so but here, just is the nature of wrestling is this. Almost all of the season, you're competing in one format, and then at Big Tens and at the NCAAs, it shifts into another. And there's almost no drama about who's going to win the national title or the Big Ten title, for that matter, because they enjoy advantages that are hard to explain on the air, and it doesn't matter. But it's notable that, I think Nebraska kind of, they brought the National Runner-Up Trophy home. And that's almost like winning the national title. That's where college wrestling is at this point. Everybody sort of acknowledges Penn State's going to do all these other things. They have 19 Olympians or something training at their center, 19 Olympic regional guys or whatever. They're literally in a different whatever. They attract, recruits that go wrestle and all this other stuff. And so Manning won Coach of the Year or whatever tournament coach. He was carried off the mat, and it's almost like there's one team that's just doing whatever they're doing over here, and then everybody else is competing for the national championship. I don't know that Nebraska went into the weekend thinking they were going to finish second. I think they probably figured they would finish anywhere from second to sixth or something, and they just had an incredible weekend. They just had one great wrestling performance after another, and that's one of the challenges though. Is the format is duels most of the season, then you switch to a tournament format. BTN doesn't help us. I'd love to go to, they're facing a lot of their best duels are Friday night at 7 or 8. And that's not an easy time to cover, those sporting events, and they don't necessarily carry over really easily on coverage. And so but yeah, Nebraska wrestling deserves a lot of coverage, and they've done a really good job. And Manning has had an incredible career. And this was his best top to bottom team. Obviously, they peaked at the right time. And Antrell Taylor is a great story. He's a great story.
Unbelievable.
He just won the national championship, and he graduated from Millard South. And that kid's story needs to continue to be told. And that isn't always, I don't think he probably went in necessarily as the favorite, but there were a lot of upsets this year. I think there was a lot more parity in the sport than maybe there has been.
I think that's what makes the sport what it is, man. You breathe at the wrong time, and it's the wrong 4 seconds, and it's over. It's over.
Right. It is. Penn State dominating the sport doesn't, in my opinion, help it. There used to be a rivalry, even though Iowa dominated, there was a rivalry between Iowa and Oklahoma State that sort of sustained the sport. Penn State at this point is so far out in front that it's become we kind of know Penn State's going to win. But so what's the real story of the NCAA wrestling championships other than them winning? And Nebraska was that story this year. And some years it's Iowa, some years it's an incredible wrestler. It's Gable Stevenson who lost this weekend. The sport's just not as high profile as it could be. And that's too bad. that Nebraska did a really good job, and Gene did a great job of covering the team this year. There's lots of stories on Husker Extra and the World-Herald that cover the team and cover the weekend. So I encourage people to read it.
Sam, appreciate the time as always and the insight there. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Sam.
That's Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. We will be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
We've got some exciting news here to elevate your March to the next level. Introducing Menu Madness here at Hurrdat Sports Bar. This isn't just any tournament. This is a bracket featuring 16 of our most popular food items, and you decide the winner each week when your favorite items go head to head. And here's the best part. When you vote, you're automatically signed up for our free loyalty program. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Hurrdat Sports Bar to watch your favorite team, the biggest games, and get those votes in for your favorite menu item today.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's CBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, and brought to you by our friends over at Centris Federal Credit Union. There is such a thing as that credit union difference, and that difference is community. You're working with people who are part of the same community as you, and they believe in the power of people helping each other. That's the bottom line. Credit unions are focused on you, whether it's checking, savings, auto loans, mortgage, home equity, whatever it is. They've got you covered, and they're there to help. So if you've got any questions and are ready to experience the credit union difference, check out centrisfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA and an equal housing lender. DB.
What up?
So we kind of threw the Ben McCollum thing at Sam there because I wanted to make sure we brought it up, but that was kind of the name that had been out there after DeVries apparently told them no. That's the kind of guy, though, and I know Fred Hoiberg's not going anywhere, so I'm not trying to start a thing here. But when we talk about the availability of funds versus the enthusiasm of giving said funds, Ben McCollum's a guy that can help bridge that gap because enthusiasm comes with winning, right? How do you win without the funds? You have a guy that can win like Ben McCollum. Like, that would be the argument I would make. If anybody says, hey, it's time to move on from Fred, that would be the argument I would make, is you need it. It doesn't appear that Fred is the guy that can get you to the number of wins that creates that enthusiasm without the players on the front end, right? Ben McCollum, I think, is that guy.
That's interesting.
Like, if you're going to make an argument against Fred, that's my argument.
You know what else is going to be, and that's not to say that McCollum can't adapt, because Lord knows, one of the best coaches in the country adapted. Remember, Mac used to be a chess piece guy.
Yes.
Set offense, play through the post. I mean, you go back to Wayne days. It's pretty methodical.
That was a slow-paced, plotting.
The pace and space thing.
That was new.
That's new.
Yeah.
Relatively. So he can change.
Yeah.
But I wonder, it will be aesthetically, it will be vastly different from Iowa fans of what they've seen, especially if nobody comes back from the portal.
Yeah.
Right? With no Dix, no Sanford.
Owen Freeman.
Owen Freeman's gone.
Visiting Creighton now, apparently.
I mean, Freeman and Mac's offense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Like, if you're
and
Freeman,
they're already going to be good next year.
Creighton?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
I mean, we talked last week about the Euro kid that's, again, a very similar skill set.
Yeah.
Kind of a stretch big with some shot blocking capabilities. I really like the guys they've already got in place. Obviously, Hudson Greer is a really nice recruit as well. Like, they're in really good shape. I know it's scary when you're like, oh, Kalkbrenner's gone and Ashworth is gone and Neal's gone.
Be just fine.
They're going to be all right. And as Sam, I know some people in the chat kind of bristled up at calling Creighton a blue blood, which I wouldn't, for what it's worth.
You mean call them that?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them that.
Yeah, nor would I.
But they're going to act a lot like a blue blood, like in terms of how they go about their business. And Sam did touch on an important thing there. They don't have to split the money a lot of ways.
I mean, and they're an Auburn locking them up half away from being. Was that been 3 consecutive Sweet 16s?
Yeah,
or 4?
3, because they missed. Oh wait, no.
I think it's 4.
No, they missed Kalkbrenner's sophomore year. So it would have been 3 straight, 4 out of 5.
I mean, that's
pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
And you saw we talked about kind of this tournament, and of course, just watching as much hoops. I'm like, first blush, my bracket, it's going to be chalky.
Yeah,
it's a chalky bracket. I don't see a ton of.
I thought
whatever
we might get a little more turbulence early, and it would chalk out later.
You have as few teams represented in the conferences as ever in college basketball.
Yeah, only 4 conferences.
Only 4 conferences are represented
in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fewest number ever.
Now, part of that is a realignment issue, right?
Yeah, you got big numbers.
Yeah, right. So
but it's no coincidence that it's the 4 biggest conferences.
100%. Yeah, because they absorbed pretty much all the good teams from the smaller conferences, right? So I do think that's going to be interesting, and I think Ben McCollum's a fantastic hire.
Although,
for where
hold on,
yeah,
they took a lot outside of the Big 12. Like Big Ten took from other power conferences. SEC took from other power conferences.
But they took from like Pac-12 and Big.
But those conferences are still represented outside of the Pac-12.
Right. But like the Pac-12, you cannibalized. Like, and they weren't. Pac-12 wasn't what.
But you know what I mean? It's not like the Big 12 is really the only team that went out and got like Conference USA or.
Yeah. But a lot. I mean, even that you're looking at Arizona was a Pac-12 team. That's not a. Houston was AAC, right? At the time, they bounced around so much. I lost track.
So, I mean, it's just that's the one conference that
kind of took from the smaller and then put itself together. That's fair.
Because I mean, the SEC took from the Big 12.
Yeah, Big 12.
And the Big 10 took from the Pac-12.
Yeah. So the Pac-12 died. No more Pac-12, although it'll be back next year apparently.
And what are Washington State and Oregon State doing?
They're going to be the Pac-8, I guess, if they can find one more team. I think they're still at 7. I think they need one more. They need one more friend to come hang out with them.
Yeah. So
I think they have a full. I think they have a full another year to figure that out.
I definitely wouldn't call them blue blood, but that's a heck of a program.
They're going to behave more like a blue blood than not, though.
Yeah.
In terms of how they operate. And so in name recognition, in program history, I understand they're not in that category.
I mean, when you can spend north of $5 million in NIL, you can.
They're going to act as in today's climate like the Blue Bloods act.
Just to finish the thought on stylistically
with McCollum.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be different.
Iowa City going to be cool with that, or is he going to adjust?
I think it's going to be a wins thing, right?
Because it's not super attractive.
No. Although I will say, if you're a hoops head, it's not ugly basketball. It's slow, but it's not ugly.
Yeah.
Right? What did I text the group? Like, their ball movement on offense makes me actually really happy.
And
like
and Sturz, I mean, you have a guy.
Yeah, you're probably going to take Sturz with you, I would imagine.
Like, he's pretty sensational.
Yeah. Like, he's probably going with you, I would guess. And
he's
like aesthetically, even though it's slow, it's not ugly. Like, there is a big difference there, right? We've seen some plotting teams that are ugly. They're going to control. To me, it's a little bit more like some of Jay Wright's Villanova teams when he slowed things down a little bit, but offensively they were still hyper efficient and got things done. That I think.
Well, you didn't see an offense play that slow that shot so many threes.
No.
That's what was weird.
It was sort of this. People, because they shot so many threes, they thought they were a pace team, but it's like, nope, they really kind of lock you down and play with whatever they want to do, right? We're really strategic about when they ran. I think Drake's going to be a lot closer to, or I think Iowa now is going to be a lot closer to that than they are. I don't know what's a really ugly plotting team. Like Brad Stevens' Butler's team were pretty ugly and plotting and sort of just ground you down to a pulp.
Yeah.
That's not really what it's going to look like. And I think, again, it's a wins thing, right? You win and you make NCAA tournaments, people will learn to love you stylistically. Even like D-Rock is a little bit more ugly stylistically, or can be, than I think McCollum is.
So I was just looking at our brackets. 540 points is the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a lot?
So out of, let's see, 16, 32.
Well, he didn't miss, or that person didn't miss a single first round game.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, they went 32 for 32.
Yeah.
So I think 580 is what your max is.
It's the max.
So that's pretty good.
It seems like a lot.
So that means they missed 2 second round games.
Yeah. I'm in 8th place.
With 500?
With 500.
Yeah. So you only missed 4 games. Tops. Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
That's tough company.
It is.
I need to go look at his bracket and see what he's got.
Where
the separators are.
Yeah. So.
Because I have to be able to gain ground. Now, the number one place I can gain ground
is the championship.
Well, that even before that, because I don't have Duke in the Final Four.
Yeah, so if Duke doesn't make the Final Four, you catch him.
Although watching Alabama yesterday, I was not encouraged.
Didn't feel great.
I mean, is Proctor going to shoot like that all the time now? He can shoot it.
Yeah,
there's no question. But
yeah,
they still go through those lulls.
Yeah,
but
which for a team
there was that stretch in the second half, the second portion of the first half, where it's like, oh, there they are.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you look up and they got 47 at the half, and you're like,
I didn't think
I didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, it's like I didn't think that was terribly efficient.
Didn't seem like it, but they're up 17 at the half.
I know.
Baylor sucks though.
Yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be.
I just don't know if I have enough room to run him down without something drastic happening with Duke.
Yeah, if Duke doesn't make the Final Four, you'll catch him, obviously, but that'll be interesting.
I usually don't allow myself to get interested.
But, like, you're doing really well.
Until the Elite Eight.
And you're still kind of behind. Like, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough out here.
Yeah, his first round was incredible.
Yeah, that's hard to do, man. That's pretty hard to do.
Do you know how many perfect brackets are left?
Going into yesterday, it was like 12. It's got to be less than that now, right?
So who would that have contributed to yesterday? Because the major ups, maybe Oregon, Arizona, but that was a 4-5.
Yeah, I've got NCAA is tracking it. They say 9 perfect brackets remain across the major online games.
Just 9.
Yeah.
And it's chalky.
It is pretty. So I think that's part of the problem, right? Is we anticipate more turbulence than that.
How is Ole Miss not throwing anybody for a loop? Anybody watch them all year?
They threw me for a loop.
Like,
I had them
guys?
losing to Carolina, and I don't even think Carolina's any good. They were playing well, but they were playing better.
Oh.
And I am not enamored with Chris Beard, so I had him getting bounced.
So his Sweet 16, he's got Auburn, Michigan, Ole Miss, Michigan State. Golly, man, he's freaking killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to only be missing what, 1? So he's got to be 15 to 16.
So he has 2 X's. So the Arkansas. Wait, it's hard to read.
So he probably missed Arkansas St. John's. That one would throw people for a loop.
Yeah. But I what's the region I'm the happiest about?
What's that?
Because I thought it was the hardest. Was the Midwest. But it was the Midwest because I didn't want to ride with Kentucky.
Yeah.
But what did I tell you when I was processing? I'm like, I just can't see an upset. And what got me off of Illinois? I'm like, I can't take a team that's that far when they could lose in the opener.
Yeah.
Remember we processing through that? And
I
was like, I'm just going to ride with Kentucky.
I've seen too much Illinois.
They are. I don't know what I would do.
So
so my man John Kay, he's in second.
Is he?
Yeah, good for him.
So I've been very out there with.
Oh yeah, John V, AF1.
I've been very out there with not being a big Brad Underwood guy, but he's one of those guys you're in a tough spot where he's too good to get rid of. But I also don't think I don't think Illinois is ever winning anything of significance with Brad Underwood as their head coach.
If you just watch them in like a 4 or 5 minute spurt, you're like, oh my gosh, they're incredible.
And then watch the next 4 or 5 minutes.
Next 4 minutes, you're like, oh my God, they're the dumbest team.
It might be the worst team in the Big Ten.
And they're so talented.
I know. There's a lot of
You know what they need to stop doing? Fouling.
Yeah, they also.
And their live ball turnovers are incredible.
I'd say they also need to stop turning the ball over.
Their live ball. It's just like.
Also, have you ever seen a team that's capable shooters shoot more threes and shoot a worse percentage?
Yeah, I watched Kobe for half his career.
The shot selection is so bad.
I'm like, why would you shoot that?
Why?
And he's 32% from 3. I'm like, yeah, you see his degree of difficulty?
Smush Parker ain't walking through that door, brother.
I'm like, this dude's hitting off the dribble, pull-up, contested threes. Those probably aren't going in. And he's fading.
Sasha Vujacic is open. Pass it.
Did you hear Van Gundy call Turkoglu the best inbounds passer of all time?
No, I didn't.
He's just talking about inbounds play and how you have guys that can't really inbounds the ball, but fans take it for granted.
Yeah.
And he's like, I had the greatest inbounder of all time, guy by the name of Hito Turkoglu. He was incredible. I was like, wow, weird pull.
And then always gets blamed on the coach. Why can't you drop a play?
Yeah. Well, we watched Arkansas, right? Real time. You can't have that guy inbounds the ball. Yeah. He doesn't have the stones to commit to make the pass.
And how many times do we hear it with Creighton over the years? Oh, you can't inbound the ball. Just inbound the ball. Why can't you just inbound the ball? Run a play. They did run a play. You got to throw it at some point. Hey, we see that in football sometimes too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to rip it.
Look at old JV in second place. Only by 10 points, too.
So he's only missed 3 games total.
This dude.
He missed 1 in the first round. Man.
Out here balling.
I'm just chilling out here in like 50th place. It's
lot of Duke in Florida.
A lot of Dukies.
Yeah, the first place has Duke, second place has Duke, third place has Florida, fifth place has Florida. All the ties for 5s have Florida.
And then you have one sad St. John's in there.
And then you watched, how good is Clayton Jr.?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
He doesn't even look like he's trying.
No, it's pretty casual.
Just chill. Just an easy jumper.
Just out there chilling.
He wasn't even making the right plays.
No.
He just was like, you're living and dying with me.
Yeah.
So I'll take that. Dude was hitting contested pull-ups.
Like, do you want to talk about bad shot selection?
You're like, no. Oh my God, he just made that.
Yeah, the second one I was okay because you could kind of tell he was feeling himself, and I'll ride with a hot hand. Like I'll ride with a heat check.
Yeah,
it's part
of course you will. You like that.
It's part of my personality, So I was okay with the second one, but there's some of those I'm like, brother in Christ, what are we doing?
Wow. And it panned out.
We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next. We're going to talk to Isaac Trotter from CBS Sports, talk more hoops here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Timberlake bumps it up. Corn nearly just detonated. My goodness. Smith, runner is good. Damon Smith heating up. Timeout, Arkansas. Gonzaga. They go right to it for Butler. Makes another one back to back. And that'll do it. And the Tennessee Volunteers headed to the Sweet 16 once again.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Isaac Trotter. He's a national college basketball writer for 24/7 and CBS Sports. What's going on, Isaac?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Good. So I hear it, right? I think it needs context. Curious to get your thoughts on, we've seen all the messaging on social media, right? 4 conferences representing the Sweet 16, the fewest conferences ever, but conferences are a lot bigger now. Fair or foul to not give that some context based on the basketball you've been watching?
I honestly think it's something that I was kind of expecting. I thought that this had a chance to be closer to a chalkier tournament than maybe the past, because I thought that the teams at the top were really, really good, right? Like the 4-1 seeds. It's hard to poke a lot of holes in Duke, Houston, Florida, and Auburn. Even like the 2 seeds, like those are really, really good teams. And so when you kind of see these leagues, these super leagues start to form, I think this was kind of inevitable, especially when you talk about the type of money that are invested in some of these rosters compared to others. And the other factor that I think was playing a part in this is, 3-point shooting was down. And a lot of these mid-major teams that had terrific seasons were really built on 3-point shooting. And maybe we can talk about the overinflated basketballs or just, nights where threes don't go in against more athletic teams. But a team like UC San Diego, if they make a couple more threes, they're beating Michigan, right? Like we're not having some of these conversations. And that's just, it kind of is what it is. I think it's a sad reality. At the same time, I could very well see this just being a one-off.
Isaac, as you kind of look through the teams that are remaining, is there anybody that you look at and you go, I'm not totally sure how they're still here?
Boy, what a great question, because all of these teams are really good, right? For me, I think that Michigan was a bit surprising to me. I think that they have done a terrific job of finding a way to get it done. But on Selection Sunday, I hated this draw for them, not necessarily because of UC San Diego. I thought they had a chance to beat them on the glass, but I thought on paper, Texas A&M was like a horrible matchup for them. And then you kind of look at the box score or watch the game and you're like, all right, it took Roddy Gale hitting 4 threes after he went like 1 for 27 from 3.
Yeah, well, he won't be repeating that. And A&M just inexplicably couldn't advance the basketball. It's like,
it was bizarre.
What are you guys
right?
doing?
It felt like one of those games where I was like, all right, Michigan needed all of 8 A, B, C, D, and E to win this game, and A, B, C, D, and E all connected for them. So I'll go with Michigan with that one, because I genuinely thought that Texas A&M was going to beat them by, maybe even double figures in the second round game. And I kind of feel like they could have if a couple of things hadn't gone their way.
So I'm not calling for the upset, but it's a team that I like just because of the way they play, and they got a couple of pros. I think Thursday's got a juicy one because Bama struggles defensively. I think BYU's better than we think, man. I have Bama in the Final Four, actually upsetting Duke. That was my separator to try to break free from the pack, and I may regret it. But Bama looks vulnerable, and I know BYU's length and shooting ability is a problem.
No, that's a great point. I'm right there with you. I think the way I would sum up Alabama is I think they're supposed to be a better 3-point shooting team than they actually are. Yeah. And I think BYU is what Alabama kind of envisioned itself being as a shooting team. Like nothing about what BYU does as a shooting team feels fluky. Like I mean, they create great shots, and I think Yegor Demon, him looking comfortable and assertive, really changes the calculus for that BYU team. That was a guy that I didn't think he was supposed to be on the floor at times for them, and was hurting them at times during the late parts of Big 12 play. And now he just he looked great against Wisconsin, giving them an early jolt. I thought he really set the tone for them against VCU. So I'm kind of with you. That VCU or that BYU Alabama game is going to be extremely fun. And I think BYU's shot making could potentially separate themselves Although I am a little bit concerned about Mark Sears and his foul baiting. He gets to the free throw line like 12, 13, 14 times a game.
So
if he does that again, he's beating BYU.
Why people continually let him go left, I have no idea. But it's apparently harder than me just watching my television saying that's the way he wants to go.
Hey, don't let him go left.
But I'll tell you the other thing he does, Isaac, his herky, he's not quite Shea Gilgeous, but his change of pace rather than the blow by has to be pretty frustrating for defenders because he's got really good body control.
Great body control. Him and LeBaron Philon, I think, are kind of together in that, where both of them just like they stop, start, and that little ability just to get defenders bending the wrong way and they're able to puncture defenses is really impressive. And if you're looking for a hole on this BYU team, I would not say their perimeter point of attack defense is something I love. Now, granted, I do like their rim protection. Keba is a big-time shot blocker. He's only 6'8", but the wingspan that he plays with is well over 7 feet, and that has certainly helped them. And I think the UConn model is something that a lot of teams are looking for. Like, are we really good in half-court offense, and can we also have an awesome rim protector? And there's only, a few teams, there's 2 teams left in this field that are top 30 in half-court offense and top 30 in rim defense. And that's Duke, which you kind of expect, and BYU. So, that would be really funny if both of those 2 teams could meet with a Final Four date on the line.
And outside of Baker, and he's 6'4", everybody's that plays meaningful minutes is 6'4" and bigger. That their size is, they get some good shots off around the perimeter. I think Wisconsin figured that out as a team that likes to score. You saw them get into the 90s, and you're like, yeah, I could see that. That reminded me of the team that shot KU's lights out in front of the Rock a month ago in Utah. It's like that's a big mature basketball team.
And I think they just do a great job of finding roles for guys. Like Mawat Mag could not shoot at Rutgers, and his body was not very good. And this year he's shooting 39% from 3. His body looks a lot more sleek and trim, and he's able to be more of a wing defender. I think he's going to be huge in that type of game. Just maybe he's the guy that they chase Mark Sears around with. Maybe he's the guy that gets some time on Grant Nelson. BYU's just done a really good job of elevating that personnel. I mean, Richie Saunders is having a career year. Mag, like I said, is having a career year. Kata is having a career year, and they create great shots. They're good. They're really, really good. I'm super impressed by them. They were as big of a winner for me from this first weekend as any program.
As well as Creighton shot the ball, and in particular, or especially in the first half, obviously, from distance. How do you think Auburn got away with not getting a ton out of Broome and having the second half that they did?
Yeah, something just feels a little bit off with Auburn, right? I can't be the only person that thinks that. Every time I watch them, I'm just like, what? What's not here? Where's this juju? Where's that fight that this group seemed to have? But I think Tahad Pettiford has continued to show that he can be a complete game changer, and just I feel like he's just so fearless. Especially against drop coverage, he's super comfortable. He's got the floater in his bag. He's got the mid-range jumper in his bag, and I think that diversification of Auburn's shot profile really changes what I think they can do. So yeah, maybe it's such a thing as just Ryan Kalkbrenner's a really tough matchup for Janai Broome, and Auburn's supporting cast found a way to get the job done. But yeah, there's definitely some my spidey senses are going off a little bit with Auburn, where maybe a couple weeks ago I was like, yeah, I'm not worried about this team at all, and now I'm like, this just isn't quite giving me the warm and fuzzies that I was kind of hoping.
Isaac, so I'm curious about the teams that got eliminated and didn't make it to the Sweet 16. Is there anyone that you're looking at? Obviously, the St. John's Arkansas was the biggest upset kind of the first weekend, but was there anybody you looked at and you go, man, I really am surprised they weren't able to get to this Sweet 16?
Yeah, for me, St. John's is probably the biggest one. The other one that I looked at was Clemson. I thought Clemson matched up extremely well with Purdue, and if they were able to get past McNeese, I thought that was a team that could make the second weekend and really, have a chance to go on a run. That's a very old team. And that first half against McNeese was as bad of a 20 minutes of basketball that I've seen from any team this year. That was atrocious. I think they scored 13 points in the first half. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think McNeese was playing all that well. They had no energy. It looked very lethargic. They looked, not very athletic. This is a McNeese crew it's not a typical Southland team because, what Will Wade has done recruiting it. But it felt like McNeese was more athletic at every single position than Clemson. Like it just, I think that was a huge missed opportunity for Clemson to be able to put some noise together. But yeah, you're right. St. John's is obviously, probably the correct answer for that one too, because I just didn't think Arkansas could score enough. And, maybe the whistle had something to do with that too. I know that St. John's wasn't super happy with some of those, the fifth foul on Kadari Richmond was tough. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a St. John's offense, half-court offense that ranked outside the top 200 just couldn't get the job done. And I think it's just a sign that, like, in college basketball these days, if your half-court offense isn't elite, you can't mask that with transition every single time. And I think Michigan State's going to find that out really soon, too.
This team's interesting because we've wanted to say that we don't think they're very good. I've kind of argued when they're going on offense, they're actually fun to watch. 19 turnovers is a head popper for Purdue. And one of your better shooters, Lawyer, missed the bulk of their threes, and they still shot 42% from three. Is there anything stylistically that you like that Purdue does offensively with Painter that you think gives Kelvin Sampson problems coaching the Cougars?
Yeah, I think to me, like the big way to beat Houston is have your bigs be able to make good decisions. And I thought that Trey Coffin-Wren's playmaking, maybe not necessarily getting assists, but getting the ball to the right guys against that pressure trapping, defense that McNeese did, is something that Purdue could try to replicate against Houston. But to be honest, guys, like when I saw Houston-Purdue, I was like, man, that's a horrible matchup for Purdue. Like everything that Houston does well is built to give Purdue problems. So I think for me, it's like Trey Coffin-Wren's going to have to hit a lot of those runners, those tough floaters that, Hunter Dickinson against Houston would have some big games with that type of shot. He's going to have to be great as a playmaker because, I mean, let's just be honest, Houston's going to do whatever they can to take, Braden Smith out of the game. And also on the other end, how does Purdue guard Houston?
I don't think
Purdue
that's going to be a problem because they don't get the glass either.
They don't get the glass, right? Like, exactly. It's like, okay, like we can't offensive rebound or we can't defensive rebound, and Houston's going to send guys to the glass constantly. And Houston's guards are all so much bigger than Purdue's. Like, they're going to be able to get into the lane whenever they want, create spray out threes. Like, it just feels like this is a really, really tough matchup for Purdue.
Anomaly or just kind of how it's going with getting pressured without another really good ball handler that Smith turned it over 8 times?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of an anomaly. I would not put too much stock into that. I thought for the most part, his decision-making was pretty good. At times I think that he was really controlling that game. And I, obviously, for the most part, I do think that he helps you way, way more than he hurts you. But again, like I said, like I head into this Houston game being like extremely nervous for this outlook because I feel like, Milos Uzan is like one of my favorite guards in college basketball. I think
fearless.
He's draped all over Braden Smith for 40 minutes.
That dude is tough. He's a dog. I mean, people talk about his 3-point shooting. I'm like, he's a great defender.
Great defender. And he can play make a little bit. And the shooting, he's shooting over 50% on pull-up jumpers. Like, he's just tough. Like, he's really tough. Like, my big thing this year was like, I was not going to get irritated at all conference voting. And then I saw Milos Uzan was not a first team all Big 12 guy, even though they put 10 guys on the first team, and I got irritated again.
Isaac, if Houston and Purdue is the worst stylistic matchup in the Sweet 16, what's the best one?
Ooh, I got one.
This one's super fun because I think when I was looking at this, like, Maryland against Florida has the makings to be a really special game.
That's the one I like too. Great call.
That one actually makes me mad because I liked Maryland to make a run, but I liked Florida to win the national championship. I was mad they got matched up here in terms of like my bracket, but I'm super excited for this game.
I agree, Isaac.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly how I'm feeling. Like both of those teams, like it's like this is a complete like shame that they're meeting in the Sweet 16. Like this is a Final Four type of game. Like I was kind of hoping to see them in San Antonio, but I mean, if you like double big lineups, this is the one for you. Florida will play a double big lineup of basically all 40 minutes. Can Maryland's big stay out of foul trouble? And then how about the shot making from these guards like Walter Clayton, Will Richard, and Elijah Martin, who's like a football player playing basketball. Like all three of those guys can fill it up. Conversely, Maryland just trots out Rodney Rice, who just drains everything. Jacoby Gillespie makes everything. Miguel is one of the top shooters in the country this year. Shot making, bigs, talent, great style. Like, both of these coaches are fiery. Like, this game is going to be outstanding.
I love the fact, and again, it's just kind of the Big Ten country, the resident honks. I'm a big Jacoby Gillespie guy. I think the poise that he plays with, and here's the thing, they don't turn the ball over. I think against Colorado State they only had 6. It's a pretty good backcourt. I do worry a little bit about Florida's length, though, in the backcourt, because it's deceptive and it's kind of a problem.
It is, and I think that Florida also, I feel like they have more guys that can dribble than Maryland at times. It feels like sometimes Maryland's second best ball handler is Derek Queen. Like, Rodney Rice is a good player, but he doesn't necessarily want to handle it all that much. It's like, I think Kevin Willard has summed it up really well, where he's like, I get terrified every time Sultan Miguel puts the ball on the deck. Yep. It just is what it is. So I do think that the Florida's length, their depth, and they're
only going to play 7 guys too.
I mean, I kind of think depth is, Ben McCollum said this, I think depth is a little overrated, but I don't think it's overrated in this game. I think you definitely will need it in a game like this where it'll be a heavyweight fight. And, even some of Florida's backup guards, like Denzel Aberdeen comes in, I'm like, oh yeah, he'd probably start for 40 high major teams in college basketball. He's, the 4th guard off the bench for Florida.
Let me give you another one, just because, Flan coming back gives Cal an 8-man rotation. I get it. But I think Texas Tech is better than we may think. But Arkansas is Cal's doing that thing, right, where he's played the underdog card. He's been kind of indifferent. Arkansas feels pretty good about themselves. What's the what's the give and take there as you look at this matchup?
Yeah, for me, I really like Texas Tech in this one. I think Kansas, Arkansas's first-round matchup, ranked outside the top 130 in half-court offense. St. John's, like we talked about, ranked outside the top 200 in half-court offense. And now Arkansas, a team who has struggled to score at times this year, gets a Texas Tech team that ranks 20th in half-court offense. This is a completely different animal offensively. And I think, JT Toppin's ability to score inside and out is huge, but Darian Williams is the huge X factor, I think, for me. Those mid-range pull-ups he can do, he'll, if Boogie Flan's on the floor, Texas Tech will do a really good job of using inverted screens to get a small guard on a big forward like Williams, and he'll just back him down and find buckets. And then also just the math too, Chance McMillian, I think, will be back, but Texas Tech can really fill it up from 3. I think they could make 5 or 6 more threes than Arkansas in this one. It's kind of going to change the calculus there from a numbers game, and Arkansas is just not going to be able to find enough offense. Texas Tech is just they're so well schooled offensively, and the ability to be able to have elite scores at all 3 levels makes them different. I have Texas Tech in the Final Four, and I think they beat Arkansas.
Isaac, who did you have winning before the tournament?
Yeah, I went with Duke. As horrible as it sounds, I couldn't get past it, because I felt like the UConn model of an amazing rim protection team mixed with a half-court offense that just creates so many terrific shots is something that was too hard for me to overlook. And I don't know, a lot of people were freaking out about Cougar Flagg's rolled ankle. I didn't think he looked that injured the next, when he was
he doesn't even have to be there, but he doesn't even have to be great for them to win. That's
a great point.
You know what I mean? A lot of these other guys need their great players to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Flag can just be good, and Duke's just fine.
Yeah, it's because I think it goes back to the shots that they create and how well they hit on role players. No team in college basketball creates more unguarded catch and shoot threes than Duke. And that's because of Sion James. He's a great passer. Con Knippel is another terrific playmaker. Tyrese Proctor is shooting the absolute cover off the ball right now. But, just the ability to move the basketball, play with pace, just make the simple plays. Duke makes the simple plays left and right. I just really trust that team. And that's weird saying that when they're one of the younger teams in this field. The talent is just through the roof, and the processes seems just really, really smart. Kanan Maliwatch, my God, he is just I think teams are shooting 48% at the rim when he's on the floor against Duke. Like, he just blasts out the sun. He's enormous.
So when you take a look at if you're going to coach and we've got to hire you, Isaac, would you rather be in Minnesota or Virginia?
Whoa, wow, great question. For me, I think Minnesota is sneaky prepared to invest in basketball because that state loves basketball.
It's really good on the AAU scene.
I'll say they
really
put
good.
out a lot of talent.
Yeah, it's really good.
I worked up there in Minnesota for a year after I graduated from college, and just like the basketball in that state is just awesome. And I know it's like a hockey loving state, but man, hoops is super
really
important
good.
there. So
Yeah.
I think that being in the Big Ten just gives you a little bit of an advantage from a money perspective. I think there's a little bit of desperation with that brass of like, we have got to get back to being, a team that can really be a force to be reckoned with in the Big Ten. I think Minnesota is going to have sneaky great money in this cycle. And if they're able to go get Nico Medved from Colorado State, I think that Minnesota has a chance to be very competent in year one with, room to really grow.
So I was going to ask you real quick, of the guys that have been hired already, which do you like the best? DeVries to Indiana, McCollum to Iowa, or I'm forgetting one. I'm forgetting a big one.
Texas.
Miller
Sean
to Texas.
Miller to
Miller
Texas.
to Texas.
I like Sean Miller to Texas.
How about that thief in the night move?
Didn't he almost get the job last time?
It's like, hey, remember last time when we talked? Let's just do that. Okay, done.
That's my bad.
Isn't college basketball's coaching carousel just the best?
It's wild.
It's just the best. I saw a really funny picture on social media after Texas got announced. They made the first four, and they're playing Xavier. And you just see like Rodney Terry like jumping for joy. Chris Del Conte, the Texas athletic director, like hands over his face in the picture. It was like exactly. It was pretty funny, but yeah, no, I think all of those guys. Honestly, all three of those different programs that you brought up, Texas, Iowa, and Indiana, have absolutely upgraded. But I think Sean Miller is an elite coach in college basketball. That Texas fan base / basketball program really wants to win. I think he's gonna have insane money there in the SEC. The Moody Center is beautiful. It is really cool venue to watch basketball. And they have access to great talent down in Texas. I feel like Texas has a chance to be one of the best teams in the SEC extremely quickly with Sean Miller there.
You have any more? You good? That's our guy, Isaac Trotter. We appreciate your time, Isaac, and enjoy the rest of the tournament, bud.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Isaac.
That's Isaac Trotter. I'm glad he brought up Sean Miller because I've got some questions.
I know how you feel.
I got some questions about Sean Miller.
And that came up in the chat a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, digging into Sean Miller, right? Do we think he's better than he is?
I don't know. We tried that with one guy, and all he does is find himself in the Sweet 16.
Chris Beard?
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
I'm surprised he didn't bring up Ole Miss.
Yeah.
They were, oh boy, they were just okay.
Yeah. I didn't like them almost all year.
And they're getting it together now.
Talk about a team that's tough to watch sometimes.
Who are you telling?
Buzz, your girlfriend.
Maybe if we weren't missing so many layups the other day, North Carolina could have found themselves winning.
Hey.
What'd you shoot inside of 4 feet? Like 38%?
Well, maybe they thought Malawak was back there.
It was sad is what it was.
We'll be back more at Sports Live.
We've got some exciting news here to elevate your March to the next level. Introducing Menu Madness here at Hurrdat Sports. This isn't just any tournament. This is a bracket featuring 16 of our most popular food items, and you decide the winner each week when your favorite items go head-to-head. And here's the best part. When you vote, you're automatically signed up for our free loyalty program. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Hurrdat Sports Bar to watch your favorite team, the biggest games, and get those votes in for your favorite menu item today.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, talking a lot of March Madness. And speaking of the tournament, you can still come here, Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, check out all the other games you got going on through the week. And as we pick back up later in the week, you can also check out Menu Madness that we've got going on with the 16 most popular food items. You can get a discount on them and vote to see which one is the champion of our menu and get a chance to win either a $100 or a $50 gift card for the last menu item standing for our loyalty members. Make sure you come in and sign up today for Menu Madness. Shano, can you play that clip I sent you?
Waiting for it.
Shano, can you play that clip I sent you?
How'd you send it?
Twitter.
Oh.
I'll just defend him quick. Usually you
Well,
ask. You'll say, "Do you want me to email you? How do
Okay.
you want me to?"
Shane, I sent it over Twitter direct message.
Usually
Okay.
you ask because for some reason if
Also
you
known
grab
as
it
X.
if you grab it off X, that's how you usually want to send it.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between share and forward. So I always click share.
Yeah.
And then it gives me
Your options.
my options.
But when I do it on my computer,
That's easier.
it's easier to just send it within
I
the
feel you.
platform.
I
So,
feel you.
but
Well,
Shane didn't know how I sent it. That's
I'm
on me.
so glad you sent it because now I can play it.
All right, let's play it.
I hope they don't do that to you, man. I hope they don't do that to you.
Do you ever remember a coach talking like that to another team?
No, I don't.
Hey guys, I know you play right after us. That would be like us getting there. Well, we have different crews probably, but that would be like us. That would be like us getting to Lincoln.
Yeah.
And you have to wait for the other teams to clear out of the locker room.
Yep.
And a coach would say, "No, nobody would ever do that.
Nobody in their right mind would ever do that. Nobody in their right mind.
And we're not even as poised to be in that moment as he is.
No,
He
remember,
should-
I don't know if you know this. He's got 2 rings. He's kind of been through this before. He told us he's got 2 rings. He's been
And
through
then
this
you
before.
listen to him at the podium, and I'm like,
This is why I think this man is so full of crap. 2 rings. This whole thing, right? It's all this victim thing. He's just everything happens to him, right? It wasn't like he is the one that decided to go out and throw the first pitches, or he's the one that got distracted in the offseason. No. People forced him to, DB. Nothing. It's not that Florida's better than UConn. They just are.
and it was whenever they got ready too. I mean, you were in control of that.
Yes. Like, is it the ref's fault that Clayton just hit daggers in your eye? Was that on the refs? 2 rings. It wasn't even as close as the final. You got some BS 3 at the end to make it look
And
like a
why
one
were
possession
they
game.
fouling?
Beats me.
You're up 8 with 40 seconds. Like, chill.
Yeah, just relax. Just relax, man.
It's like 74-66. Like, you're good.
Yeah, like it's a wrap.
Yeah.
We're cool here. But no, it's always somebody else's fault with Dan Hurley, with Danny.
He said, was he talking to Bama?
Who?
Under the tunnel.
No, he's talking to Baylor.
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 Yeah, I said Baylor.
Hey,
Baylor.
I hope they don't bleep you, Baylor. I hope they don't bleep you like they
I don't
bleeped
even
us.
think. Shane, play that for me one more time.
Okay, I gotta find it.
Okay, I gotta find it.
Does he always have that mean of a walk? By the way,
He walks angry.
He was ready to
I
get
mean,
off
I
except when he's loitering at CHI when he's rubbing it in.
Well,
Chase
yeah.
fans' faces.
Well,
then he takes forever to get off. He kind of saunters.
Well, that's why they have to make his protection tunnel so long, because he likes to kind of meander through CHI.
and I know what didn't Paterno have the mean walk on Saturday?
Oh, Rick Pitino?
Patino?
Yeah, Patina.
Paterno ain't walking anywhere.
No, he's not. No, but
Damn.
can I just play the clip?
Yeah, go ahead.
I hope they don't do that to you, man.
Baylor.
I hope they don't do that to you, Baylor. Do what? Officiate the game?
Man,
Sorry.
tough out here.
I don't know. He looked mean there.
He does. He has a mean walk.
Little bit of a mean spirit.
He's got an aggressive
Told
walk.
you, unless he's sauntering.
Yeah,
when
unless
he's gloating on.
He's
your
a
home
front
court.
runner.
Yeah.
He's a front runner.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm not messing with that guy. I don't care how many titles he wins. I don't care if he goes on a John Wooden-like run. I don't care. I am not messing with that dude.
You didn't feel a little something when he was crying over the weekend?
Fake tough guy.
You know,
Hey.
doing just the opposite?
Fake tough guy.
Mm.
I'm out. I'm all the way out.
So there's like these clips going around during the Florida game because I did the video of him like looking down.
Mm-hmm. The like.
No, he's like he looks away on a foul call.
Oh, okay, on the foul. I thought you were talking about.
And then I tweeted out the video and I was like, you have got to caption this. It's like he practiced a crazy face to turn back and look.
2 rings.
He looked away.
He does. It all seems fake.
And then I was like, what is this dude
Yeah, he does
doing?
one of these.
And right before that, no, this is funny. Right before that, so it's like 29-28. So it's all in the same little 2-minute stretch.
Mm-hmm.
His assistant is trying to tell him something, and he tells him to shut up mid-conversation. He goes, shut up.
Well, he wanted to treat Luke Murray the same way Mac did. He was like, "Hey, little man, shut up."
I was like, wow. It'd be different, but he does win. So I mean,
that's fine. You can have it. There's more important things in the world.
What are you willing to put up with?
Not that. I'm telling you, like, I'm serious. People think I'm lying. I swear I'm not. I don't care how many championships he would win if he came to Creighton. No interest in it whatsoever. None.
He said, people think I'm lying.
I'm not.
No, I think people believe you.
No interest whatsoever.
You're on record.
I'm out. All the way out.
This is where the magic happens, right?
I think the press has been an asshole to me the whole year.
It's not you.
That's a takes one to know one situation there.
We should dominate their ass on the glass.
That's a takes one to know one there, Daniel.
T-Mac wants to know if it's bad that he kind of wanted Hurley at Texas. He seems super anti-T-Mac.
Also, you know how miserable he would be answering to that many people? Because that's the thing with Texas, right? Texas, you kind of have to play politics a little bit. Like, you kind of have to be running for.
So why would they hire Sean Miller? He's not going to play that game.
No, because he's used to handling the bags, though. Back at Arizona, like, he was cool with that.
You still hate on Sean.
I'm not a huge fan. It's not like a Hurley situation. He's kind of, oh, he just doesn't sit with me, right? Like, I'm just not a fan.
Yeah.
It's not a Hurley thing. It's just something about him I just don't love. He's a good basketball coach, I think. I don't know. Is he? It's been a minute.
Well, I think Arizona fans would tell you he wins just enough.
Well, he did for a while, and then he stopped.
You know.
Because,
I think some people thought that Arizona should have won.
They probably should have won more
down the
than
stretch.
They did.
You know, when it got nut cutting time, when you're playing against peers. See, and that's what I don't like when people say, "Well, he got to an Elite Eight." You know, there's only one national championship. I'm like, listen, if you're a top 12 team all year, that's your goal.
Yeah.
If you're a top 10 team all year, that's your goal.
You're not fighting against history.
So it's not like, well, I mean,
you're fighting against the field.
That's why I don't love the whole. You know, well, he's gotten them to the Elite Eight. Okay. And this is the same sport where we acknowledge it's all about matchups.
Mm-hmm.
You got to win. And I'm not discounting winning 4 games. What I'm telling you is if you've done that a ton if you're a top 10 program. So you're on par with where you need to be with the expectations.
Well,
now, when you exceed those, then we could have the conversations about being validated.
And if you're going,
that's just my opinion.
If you're going 34-4 in the regular season, the Elite Eight is a disappointment.
Yeah.
If you're going 33-5 in the regular season, the Elite Eight is a disappointment. Those are the last 2 records of the Elite Eight teams that he made with Arizona. By the way, that was a decade ago.
Yeah.
He hasn't made an Elite Eight in a decade. In his last 3 years at Arizona, let's go 4 years.
There was a lot going on.
There was a lot going on.
And somehow Tommy Lloyd came out unscathed.
Smell like flowers.
How?
Let's not pretend, though. Let's not pretend that all the noise going on at Arizona wasn't of his own making.
Understood.
Like, he's laying in the bed that he made, right? But his last 4 years at Arizona, bounced in the first round, misses the tournament, COVID, they were 21-11, 17-9, he gets fired. And then at Xavier, like, they've been okay. They went 27-10, made a Sweet 16, 16-18 last year, bounced in the first round at 22-12 as the first 4 team this year. Like, he's been okay the last 7-8 years, but
let
not
me ask you
crazy.
something, because they wet the bed late too against Texas. Would you rather coach Hunter Dickinson or Fremantle?
Why you gotta do that to me? You know I don't like Hunter.
Isn't Fremantle a head scratcher?
He is, but I don't.
He's so emotional.
I think I'd take Dickinson because at least I think Fremantle cares at all.
He missed the 2 free throws when they had a chance, and I'm just thinking he may never recover.
Because you go through this in education, right? I think it's easier to get a handle on people's emotions than it is to get them to give a crap. If somebody doesn't give a crap, it's really hard to get
I know I'd rather be around the people that have emotions. I don't know which is.
I think it's easier to get emotions under control. It's really hard to, like, if somebody's indifferent, man, it's pretty damn hard to get them to give
I know.
crap.
I hate it. Those are the worst. That's the worst.
Like, that's a deal breaker for me. If I don't think you give a crap, like, I'm out.
So do you already have the traits? So I have to get you to get your emotions under control versus you just could care less.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less.
Yeah. Because that's what we're talking about basically with Fremantle and Dickinson, right? Dickinson looks super disinterested. Fremantle maybe is letting the emotions get the best of him, right? That's the discussion.
Yeah.
I would rather try and get a handle on somebody's emotions than be dealing with a guy who I don't think
I'd probably concur.
cares at all.
You know who you're letting off the hook, and there's so many games maybe you forgot.
Who?
Or maybe it was just an impressive drubbing. Were you expecting more out of UCLA?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. No, that's fair.
They were only catching, like, it was like 4 or 4.5.
Yeah, I thought they could be a little bit more.
They got their brains beat in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't. I don't.
He said,
yeah, still, you know.
What was all that for?
I was buffering.
Loading.
No, because I don't know how I feel about Tennessee either.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. I think out of that top pack of SEC teams, they're probably them and Alabama. I'm kind of not totally sure on how. Like, they're good, but I don't know how good I think they are. That felt gettable for UCLA, but yeah, I mean, I probably am letting them off the hook a little bit. But it's also hard, like, okay, 7's not supposed to be to 2.
If you can remember, did Illinois doing what they did to Xavier Lake give you hope for Illinois?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought.
They were favored against Kentucky.
Going into that game,
did that surprise you?
A little, but
yeah.
I thought it'd be close, right?
It surprised me.
I think people view Illinois a lot the same way we did. Like, when they're capable, they'll beat anybody. Or they're capable of beating anybody when they're not pissing it down their leg, right? Which they do a lot, which again is why I'm not sure I'd take Brad Underwood to manage my hamburger stand. Like, I'm not sure I try.
He definitely seems like a guy. His interviews are even mean.
Yeah, that's a weird dude. I don't really know.
Well, his teams don't play like that, though.
No, they don't. But I also part of it seems like they just don't listen to him.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because some of those coaches that just yell and they're like they rev so high that it doesn't have any impact on the team anymore, and they're just like, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's kind of what we saw with Queen and Willard, where he goes, "Hey, why do you listen to him?" It's like, well, he do be paying us.
Willard's response was the classic.
You know what I mean?
And he can't be mad. He just basically trashed his conference and his administration 3 days earlier.
Paying.
Yeah, for 3 days earlier.
Yeah. It's like, obviously, this is the program that's pretty open about the money situation.
You can't just afford it. You didn't know any better. You can't have him know any better. All right, who do you think has the biggest spread?
Ooh, going into this weekend?
Yeah. It should be obvious.
I haven't. I mean, it's probably St. John's. Or not Arkansas.
It's Duke.
Oh, really?
9.5. There is no double-digit spread.
Duke is a 9.5 over Arizona?
Yeah.
I would have thought, I guess people don't.
Arizona, Texas Tech is not that much. I think it's only.
Arkansas, Texas Tech?
Yeah. Did I say Arizona? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's only like 5.5 maybe.
It's 5.5. I guess so people just don't think Texas Tech is that.
Wait, and
better.
what's the tightest one? Somebody's only 2.5.
Houston, Purdue 7.5. Florida, Maryland 6.5. Ole Miss, Michigan State's 2.5.
That one surprised me.
Auburn, Michigan 7.5. So there's a lot in like the 6 to 7 range.
Does Ole Miss, Michigan State seem like it should be 2.5? You don't like. I get it.
I don't really know what to do with either of those.
You haven't really ever loved Michigan State, so maybe that. And we know Ole Miss is a head scratcher.
Yeah, so I don't know what to do with those teams.
I don't know. I just think Michigan State's better than that.
Probably. Like, I wouldn't have picked that one as the closest spread.
Me neither.
I probably would have said BYU Alabama.
Me either. Like,
I probably would have said BYU Alabama as the closest spread if I had to pick.
I'm telling you, BYU's good.
Yeah. That's probably the game I would have said is the 2.5.
And here's the funny thing, though. Like, you get a healthier Nelson, and they're making shots.
Mm-hmm.
Bama's capable of blowing their doors off.
I mean, you know how I feel about Nelson. Nelson might be the guy on that team I like the most.
It's just it's a fantastic matchup. But I'm glad you guys like the Florida.
Oh, Florida.
Because I think it's sneaky. Because the conventional wisdom would say Florida can play, 4 guys in the front court. They're all interchangeable. Maryland doesn't have any depth.
Mhm.
Oh, it should be but I like the matchup.
I think it's going to be really fun. Like I'm super. That's the one I'm most excited about. And again, I'm kind of mad that it's happening this early.
I'm gonna ride with if after that one though. I'm
Mhm.
going with BYU and Bama.
Yeah, that's an easy second place for me. For in terms of best matchups,
I think you'll like Texas Tech and Arkansas.
I mean, I'm not going to enjoy watching. Like, I don't like watching how Arkansas plays.
They do play with some tempo now.
They do, but
they get to the foul line.
It's still kind of yucky.
Wow.
I don't know how.
I think it's the double-digit losses. We know how you love those.
It just
At least it's not 15. Well, now 16, but
got stepping. Get out.
I hate that.
Like, if you're going to fire your coach and your expectation isn't the Final Four, like, you probably shouldn't have made the tournament.
Oh.
Like, if you're booting your coach.
Well, hell yeah, I want to do it now.
Yeah, me too.
You want to do it now?
Me too. Whatever he's talking about.
Meanwhile, if you're
Well, hell yeah, I want to do it now.
I don't even know who that is.
I need to know.
That was Coach Painter.
I need
in the presser.
He's a really good take the podium guy.
He's a really good coach. He probably doesn't get enough credit.
He's a really good take the podium guy. You can represent me.
Creighton's had a couple of guys go coach for Coach Painter.
Yeah, Creighton's had a lot of successful. That's a nice little coaching tree.
Very similar last names to Lusk and Lutz.
Lot of.
No, it's good. It's nice.
Pretty good coaching tree.
You like to see that.
Yeah.
Like to see sometimes the tree come back home too. Sometimes, like, just eventually.
Come on back.
Someday.
Come back, Shane. Come
Well, hell yeah,
back.
I want to do it now.
Not Shane. Shane can stay over there.
Wow, just continuing to hate on the little fella.
I'm just kidding, Shane.
He's not.
Nah, I mean, I probably deserve it. I
he's
did.
more-
I'm sorry. I didn't know you DM'd it to me. It's my bad.
No, it's okay. I didn't specify. That's on me. He's more of a shrub than a tree, though, in terms of Shane.
Cold shot.
What? I'm just saying.
Cold shot.
Low blows.
Yes.
Well,
Right.
yeah. That's. I mean, never mind. Let's take a little break here. We will come back to wrap up the show here.
I may not.
In just a minute.
I'm gonna go put a suit on.
Yeah, we will wrap things up quickly for you and call it a day here on a Monday. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Well, hell yeah, I want to do it now.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. DB had to take off. He's heading to a funeral here, so we wish him and all his friends and everybody the best there as they do that. Appreciate him sticking it out with us this morning. He will be back tomorrow, as will we. We'll talk some more about spring football as it kicks off today. They'll have some media availability. I believe Coach Rule's available for the first time tomorrow, so we'll get some of that for you as the week presses on. And as DB talked about, we're going to get to some categories as well of things we're sort of looking for over the course of spring. If you've got any that you want us to take a look at as well, you can either give us a call tomorrow, 888-638-4876, or hit us up on our social medias as well. But it's I think it's going to be super interesting as we dive into those throughout spring practice and everything. I did want to kind of circle back real quick, though, before we leave here for the day to the wrestling, NCAA wrestling championships over the weekend, because I was trying to get some context. And this is one of the things that I know we talked about, gatekeeping and kind of all that stuff a little bit, but this is one of the things I appreciate about talking to DB about some of these things, because he knows that I don't have the background that he does, obviously, with wrestling. And so I'm watching on was it Saturday night, I think, watching the championships. I'm mostly tuned in for Nebraska, but I keep it on as the basketball games are going on as well. And I see Hendrickson upset Stevenson in the, I want to say Stevenson so bad, Stevenson in the heavyweight title match. And DB texts me right away and he's like, hey, did you see this, whatever? I'm like, yeah, I saw it, but I'm not sure I totally grasp the context of how big of a deal this is, sort of the magnitude of it. And so he's kind of given me some, trying to give me some examples and stuff. And I go, okay, is this a bigger deal than when Rulon Gardner won the gold medal in '96 in the Olympics? And he's like, it's probably a little bit bigger of an upset than that. He brought up Dan Gable this morning as well. I kind of tried to go to other sports. I go, hey, on a scale of like Miracle on Ice to Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson, like what are we talking about here? And it was a pretty cool thing to watch, even with sort of the lack of context for how big of a deal it was. And I do understand the frustration of people who are really into wrestling. It's a big deal here in the state. You saw our wrestling coverage of the high school tournament with NEB preps and everything, right? Where it was this huge deal. Both the girls and boys tournaments were enormous kind of spectacles for CHI over at the CHI Health Centers. And obviously they did a ton of run with the Tyson Terry stuff on our social accounts and everything. So I do understand there is an appetite and a passion for it in the state. I don't know, and this is, admitting where I have some blind spots here. I don't know nationally if that enthusiasm is it kind of uniform across the country, right? I know Midwest, especially, you're talking Iowa, Nebraska. Obviously, Penn State is a huge deal. Minnesota, it's a huge deal. I don't know if it's more of a regional thing or if there is some national carryover as well. But I do understand the frustration of local media not necessarily being there in Philadelphia on site. I did think Sam brought up a fair point that the team title sort of was a foregone conclusion to a large extent, right? It was Penn State was going to win that thing, and there was not a ton of drama there. Does that mean there shouldn't have been somebody there, whether it was from the World-Herald or, full disclosure, we didn't send anybody out to Philadelphia either. I do think in terms of timing, I do think the NCAA Wrestling Championships could do themselves a couple favors in not lining it up with the first weekend of March Madness. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's kind of how you don't want to schedule TV spots against the Super Bowl. March Madness is one of the biggest things that sports viewers watch in this country. And if you're trying to get more people interested in your sport, lining up your championship with that is really tough.
Maybe before the conference tournaments, the weekend before.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know enough about, again, blind spot here for me. I don't know enough about how the schedule works. I don't know if you could shift it to maybe later in the spring or versus having it line up directly with the opening weekend of March Madness, but there's not a lot of television products that, and it was a great television product, by the way. Like, the way they present it is incredible, but there's not a lot of television products that are going to compete well against the opening weekend of March Madness. And if you are trying to grow your sport, it's not just on the people who cover it. It's also on the people who are in charge of it to give themselves opportunities to be seen by the most amount of people as well. But hopefully, both in Nebraska and nationally, the sport continues to grow. Obviously, we love Coach Manning. We've had him on a couple times here in the last couple months, including last week right before the championship started. Congratulations to him being Coach of the Year, Nebraska on national runners-up, and, of course, you got the 2 national champions and 8 All-Americans as well. Love to see Nebraska represented well on a big stage, so I will always root for that. That's Shane. I'm Ravi. DB will be back with us here tomorrow. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.